And of course, forget to unmute my microphone. What's up, everyone? Just a nice little tease there. We've got sound, don't worry. There was about 15 seconds there when we did it. Welcome to another episode of Eat Meat, Make Family Stream. We got a bunch of people watching. What's up, everybody? KasumiKriss is going to be talking to us today. We've got KasumiKriss, Crystal. She's got a YouTube channel. Kasumi's been throwing out videos for several years now. She spent quite a while in the vegangelical movement. She actually left it to get her health back together using whole, unrefined, nutrient-dense animal foods. The foods all of our ancestors have been consuming, not Kasumi, for thousands of years. How crazy that we could be so decadent, so brainwashed, so depraved that we could be tricked into removing the most nutrient-dense sources of nutrition from our diets, the most essential sources of nutrition from our diets. It sounds crazy to our ancestors. It would have sounded crazy to our ancestors, but you know what? People are actually doing it now. So, again, just to reiterate, if you're coming and trolling, you will be banned. If you want to come on and bitch about me not using headphones, you will be banned. If you are a vegan troll, or maybe a vegan troll, or maybe not a vegan troll, just somebody who says something that I think might be trollish, you will be banned. This is the Ban Happy Ban Hammer channel. But yeah, I'm stoked to talk to KasumiKriss. There's one guy down. One guy's been put on timeout for maybe not. I don't even know how to ban people. I just put him on timeout for complaining that I'm not wearing headphones. But yeah, guys, it's awesome to be here with you. There's been a lot of stuff going on. This week. We had Dr. Joe Kahn, the aptly named Dr. Joe Kahn, vegan cardiologist, debating Chris Kresser on the Joe Rogan podcast. This was like a 4-hour-long debate. Man, I got to say, Chris Kresser has an incredible amount of patience. That man has saintly patience. So that was an interesting debate. I thought about making kind of a response video to some of the points made in it, but it's so nauseating. It's so nauseating trying to keep up with all this goofy stuff on the internet here. So what we do is we try to put out the best information we can, help you guys out, understand how to formulate a proper ketogenic or carnivorous style diet, how to help you understand how to navigate the territory here and actually enjoy a nutrient-dense, unrefined, whole foods-based ketogenic diet. There's a lot of confusion out there. A lot of people freaking you out about all kinds of different things. Macros, right? Measuring your blood ketones all the time. Gluconeogenesis. There's all kinds of confusing, confounding information out there. What we see our space as is cutting through the bullshit, cutting through the muck, and giving you guys the real deal on how to do this right. All right, so I'm gonna call up Kasumi. She's awesome. We've been talking on and off for the last month or so. And I was just informed that I'm getting fiber optic cable close to my my home soon. So my internet should be better in the coming months, guys. We'll see what happens. The internet has been pretty decent lately, but it's always in and out here in Ecuador. Middle of the day here in Ecuador, 12 o'clock in the morning. What'd you guys have for breakfast out there? I see a bunch of people in the chats. What's up, everyone? Mark, Tombola, you got untimeouted for complaining that I don't use headphones. You can come back for a bit. But if you bitch, you're out. Well, here we go. I'm going to call KasumiKriss. I don't like just talking to myself. Let's get Kasumi on. So Crystal, she runs a YouTube channel. There's her YouTube channel. You can see right there. It's called KasumiKriss. She's also got an Instagram. You can follow her on Instagram. You can also follow her. Hey! Oh, let me see. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Let me maybe I got to check my Skype preferences. Because I can see you. The audience can see you.
Can you hear me?
All right, let's figure out this audio. It might be on my end. Let me just check my audio video stuff here. Microphone. Speakers. All right, I still can't hear you.
Hmm.
Seems like, can the audience hear Crystal? Can you guys hear Crystal? They can
Hello?
hear both, which is so strange. They can hear you, but I can't. So it's got to be something to do with my audio setup here. Technical difficulty, guys. Sorry about this. Let me figure this out. Let me come over to my sound.
On my screen it says that the microphone is off.
Well, now I can hear you.
Oh, yay. There we go.
Perfect. Perfect, perfect. Now let me just adjust my audio here and make sure everything's good. Crystal, Crystal, Crystal. What's going on?
Hello. I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. You're glowing still. What happened? I thought you started eating this meat and you said you were feeling better. I think we talked, it must have been almost maybe 2 months ago, right? It must have been a couple months that we spoke on the live stream. How's it been going since then? I mean, we talked, you had like an almost cathartic experience eating steak for the first time. We talked about how you had tears coming to your eyes eating steak for the first time in years. What the heck has been going on with you over the last couple months on your journey?
I've been really starting to live again. I feel it so lively. Like how I remember myself to be before I went vegan, that I could just be energetic the whole day and I have passion again to do things and just feeling very healthy overall. Like it's getting better and better. There were some ups and downs, like trying out different kinds of foods, but I'm starting to figure this out. So it's going very well.
Going very well. So, your diet before you started eating meat, you went through all sorts of like funny vegan phases, right? I mean, I don't know about phases, but you did a vegan diet for how long?
For 4 years.
4 years on a vegan diet. Now, what kinds of foods were you eating before you started kind of figuring out that you wanted to transition back into a humane human diet that's not going to starve you of nutrients? It's going to give you the fat soluble vitamins and everything you need. What were you eating before?
Do you mean right up to it or all
Yeah,
those
like
4 years?
your vegan diet before the last couple months. What did it look like?
Um, Mostly salads with tomatoes, cucumbers. Very boring, actually. I started to get rid of the fruits before these months before. I started to drink some protein shakes, plant-based raw vegan protein shakes. Yeah, I tried to avoid cooked food as much as possible, but I found myself always coming back to it. What else was I eating? I think it was mostly salads, actually. Yeah.
So a lot of raw greens, a lot of fibrous vegetables, high fiber diet. And then you said egg was like the first one you went for when you came out of it?
I cannot hear.
Uh-oh. Are we back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. So mostly greens, high fiber, vegetable-based diet. And then eggs were the first animal food that you added in. And then one by, like, you want to kind of talk us through the progression from that point? So you had eggs. It was a good experience overall, right? We talked about that in the last talk. And then you tried some meat. You had steak. Then what happened? What else have you added into the diet? What else have you been experiencing lately? I know we've talked quite a bit. I want to catch the audience up on like what's going on with you and how you've been.
Yeah. So after that, I hear my echo. Yep. Yeah, that's better. After that, I noticed that my body wasn't doing so well with the grains and high sugary foods, and so I mostly switched over to predominantly animal-based ingredients. I just started to eat mostly beef. That's the base of my diet, I would say, and eggs. And next to that, just trying out a lot of different cuts of meat. I've been loving pork for some reason. It's my favorite food. It has become my favorite type of meat. I have no idea why, but it makes me feel really good.
Which cuts of pork do you like? Have you done pork belly yet?
Oh, pork belly I haven't had, but ribs are really good. It's really, really tasty. Like I
Oh, that
never
fat.
used to eat pork when, yeah, I never used to eat pork when I was growing up. My mother would never cook it. I think I had sometimes a slice of ham on my bread, but now that I tried out the different types of pieces of pork, it's really tasty. Next to that, I've been really liking liver a lot. So today I had a really good calf's liver. I tried it before and I didn't like it. I think I had a bad quality calf liver, but today it was so sweet and I appreciated the liver taste of it a lot. So I also been adding in chicken liver and beef liver. What else? Fish. I've been enjoying fish a lot. So it's mostly animal products, and I think I had one avocado one time, and I think 4 or 5 times some broccoli. And I've been lowering on. First, in the beginning, I was eating a lot of dairy, raw dairy, kefir, and sometimes some yogurt here and there. But I've tried to reduce it because I notice it works better for me at the moment. But yeah.
Yeah. The dairy is an interesting thing. Like we kind of talked about that last time. How you were loving cream, and you were loving raw milk. You were having a lot of raw milk when you first started out too. But then you said you kind of started to notice that you might have been having some slight digestive discomfort from the dairy. Like it seemed like it was nothing major, but maybe you suspected that it might have been kind of keeping you from feeling as good as you could. And you decided to kind of pull that out, right?
Yeah. It was also by your advice because sometimes I noticed that I would have, in the beginning, it was totally fine. I could drink like almost a liter of kefir and I would feel so great. It would feel so healing to me the first couple of weeks. But afterwards, I would just have one glass and I noticed myself just dozing off, just starting to feel really sleepy, even though when I woke up in the morning, I felt very energetic and started my day really good. But after that cup of raw milk or raw milk kefir, I just noticed I just got very sleepy. So eventually I started to reduce the amount of dairy in my diet, and that has helped a lot. And I also noticed that it helps with the clearness of my skin. Because after something, if I eat too much dairy or something that is high in sugar, my skin reacts to it instantly. And that has been better since I've kept it out.
Wow. So if you have a couple high dairy meals, you'll notice like breakouts in your skin, almost like a detoxification reaction, nearly instantly.
Yeah, it's I don't get big sits anymore, but it's like a little bit like crumbly, or the texture becomes a little different, like a little bumpy.
Like your
Yeah,
skin's
yeah,
almost
that as
drying
well.
out.
Yeah.
So so without the dairy, now you find yourself kind of gravitating towards more of a carnivorous style approach. I mean, how do you feel about that? I mean, you come from eating a lot of vegetables, well, eating all your food from the vegetable kingdom, all plant foods, and transitioning into this diet, you were still including plenty of plant foods, but now you find yourself gravitating towards a more ketogenic carnivorous diet. And I find this, I forgot to mention, so KasumiKriss, Crystal joined us this month in our Keto Collective, our Keto and Carnivore Collective community coaching group. So we do every single month, not every month because it's kind of a heavy workload, but every other month we've been doing our Keto and Carnivore Collective. So we do like anywhere between 10 and 50 participants, and we're kind of working on scaling it so we'd be able to handle maybe even up to 100 in the near future, but we've got some other things to work out here. So it's a community-based coaching experience where we give live interactive voice chats and lectures several times per week, and we use a live Discord server where everybody can kind of, in a community-based setting, interact with each other. So that's kind of why I kind of know a little bit of what Chris has been going through, what Crystal's been going through. And sometimes I don't know whether to call YouTubers by their YouTube name because it's like it drives people to their channel, or to call them by their real name because it's like when I say KasumiKriss, I feel like I'm talking to a cartoon character. So I'll call you Crystal from now on, and I'll keep reminding the audience that you got KasumiKriss on YouTube. But yeah, so she's joined us this round, and I just want to say thank you for joining us. It's been really, really fun having you around. It's nice to have the community-based setting where people can actually talk about their own experiences and support each other, because I think, as you probably noticed, there's not that much. All right, so when you change your dietary habits, your friends and family, it's not like they're unsupportive, but they just kind of don't really give too much of a shit. Like, nobody really cares to sit there and talk to you about, yeah, I cut out all the carbohydrates in my diet, and it's this really weird experience. They're just like, what the fuck are you talking about? I don't care. It's like, so it could be nice to have kind of a community-based setting where other people are going through similar things, where people are talking about, their experiences with this. So she joined us this month, and that's kind of how I know a little bit about what she's been going through. And she referenced, me suggesting maybe cutting down the dairy and cutting down the carbohydrates, because she was transitioning from a very historically high carbohydrate diet. And I always think it's interesting to see if people can get into that fat burning metabolism and get really, really deep into that keto adaptation. And it seems like you have had a very quick initiation into all this. Like, you've gone kind of like 0 to 60 really quickly. Going from vegan to starting eating more fats, to feeling your body craving the fats, to saying, okay, maybe I'm going to cut out the carbohydrates now. And then cutting the carbohydrates even lower and cutting out a lot of the vegetables. It's like you've gone through, in the last couple months, kind of what it took me and Jessica, like, I don't know, like 5 years in progression of changes in our diet to go through. So it's always interesting to me how many different people experience diet in different ways, how many people actually require different nutrients. Like you might have different nutrient deficiencies than I've had in the past, which may influence your desire to eat certain foods or your aversion to eating certain foods. And but yeah, it seems like this has been kind of like, for you, the last couple months, like a really intense change. So how has this affected you and like your interpersonal life and stuff? I mean, before being on a vegan diet, now eating meat again. I mean, has anything changed just like on the non-diet level for you? Like you're in your local community with your family and friends and whatnot?
Yeah, I think probably some people that are close around me, probably in the back of their head, think I'm this extreme person with my diet and things. And I can understand that. I did have an interest in health since I can remember, so I was always busy with it. And then that's how I found my way into a vegan diet. And my mother called me an extremist then, and now she's really happy about it, though, so that I'm eating everything again. She's just glad that I feel better and feel happy, and she also sees it in my face that I'm glowing again. So I don't look as sickly to her as I used to. So that's just a plus to her. It doesn't really matter how I'm eating at the moment. But I do think there might be people that think I'm a little bit, crazy about it, that I'm now also they see it as the other side of the extreme. So probably this could end up into health issues again and those kind of things. That's probably that's what I think they are thinking. Like, I'm not really 100% sure what they're thinking about.
Or is it just you think, because you've seen all this stuff, right? You've seen so many people wreck their health with vegan diet. You've seen so many people go to these extremes with diet, making like a religion out of their diet, making their whole entire personality based around what they eat. Do you think maybe it's just kind of the reverberation of that, of you seeing all of that for so long? Because, I mean, coming out of a vegan diet, it's like, look, now you can go to a restaurant, you can sit down with your mom or anybody, and no one has to know you're on a freaking diet. You can always order a steak or a piece of fish or something, and it's like, you don't have to say really anything. I know it can be hard sometimes, right? It's like you order a steak and you say, don't bring the salad, or like bring me extra butter, and people are like, oh, well, that's kind of weird. The conversation does come up, but it seems to me, I mean, at least reflecting in my life, like it's much less socially restrictive to be eating even like a full-on carnivorous diet for people than it is to be on a vegan diet, where there's usually a lot of emotional attachment to the so-called ethics behind it and stuff like that. So I would say that there's a really good chance that your friends and family don't really think it's that weird, that they probably think it's a lot more awesome than Kasumi's going to tell us we're raping and murdering animals again. Hopefully she doesn't bring it up
True.
this dinner.
Yeah, that is true. It is. It seems to be like they're uh, definitely more happy about it than when I was vegan. That's a true thing. So it looks more normal. So I think it's definitely something I have been creating in my head about this. I definitely had some difficulties with it in the first weeks because, yeah, I think I on purposely forced myself to eat some foods that I didn't really want to eat just to show to the people around me like I'm normal. But eventually, when I started noticing that certain foods make me feel really good and not have digestive issues and make me feel mentally sane and have energy throughout the day, then I started to have more confidence with myself that okay, this is how I want to eat, and I don't really care anymore how what people say about it. So that's also made me not think too much about that. I need to eat some rice, or I need to add some potatoes, or I need to have the salad with this food just to kind of show that I eat normal. But yeah, I think it just came through feeling really good that gave me confidence, and I just want to eat what I feel like eating, and I don't care so much anymore about it.
That's a really interesting angle. Yeah, it's like the first, I'm coming back. I'm back, everybody. I'm not on this crazy diet anymore. I'm not going to tell you that, you're drinking cow pus and eating chicken periods and all this. And yeah, I mean, it's like people do want to be accepted, and that's something that is inherently human. And we can deride people for it and say, oh, why do you care what people think and this and that? But it's like, really, we're tribal creatures. We're creatures of community. We're creatures that are based on family, that are based on you know uh, community living, communal living, and interdependence with each other. And then that gets hijacked, right? Because we get fractured and we get cut off from our friends and family, and we get put in these kind of digital communities now where a lot of people think that they're really connecting, or they have some false identity that's based on this or that or whatever online. And yeah, then the diet becomes such a trap for some people, and just can be so socially
Mhm.
isolating. So I totally relate to that. It's just like, yeah, I'll eat ice cream with you, I love you, mom.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, it's finding the balance though, right? It's
Yeah.
we don't want to sacrifice our own health for feeling socially accepted, and we don't want to reject the importance of community and family, but at the same time, we can't put on false layers on our personality and pretend, because it's like then we're just selling our soul to fit in. And so yeah, that's cool. So you left the vegan cult and you felt like it's like, I'm coming out, Ben and Jerry's, let's do it,
Yeah.
but maybe it didn't feel so optimal on some of the more junk type foods. Now, what foods do you notice
No.
were like foods that you would feel an instant response from as far as mood, inflammation, and whatnot goes?
Um, Definitely foods that have added sugar to them, because in the beginning I felt that kind of liberation, like I want to try foods from my childhood again, the chocolates that I ate. And I went to the store and had some yeah, chocolates that weren't very healthy, and I had some Haagen-Dazs ice cream. And I remember particularly, it was very noticeable with the Haagen-Dazs ice cream that I remember feeling so good uh, a couple of days, and then I had the ice cream at night. I ate a whole tub, and it was so tasty. I can't remember having such tasty ice cream in those last 4 years at all. And I was fine in that evening. I did have a little bit of bloating and a little bit of gas, but it wasn't nothing so severe. But the next day, in the morning, I woke up really sad, and I felt like, why am I actually feeling so sad? And the day started really slow, and I didn't have much energy. And suddenly, got really negative thoughts. And when I when I started to become aware of the thoughts, is when I linked it to the Haagen-Dazs ice cream, because nothing happened in my life, in my day-to-day life, that I should become so sad and feel so depressed. And I also couldn't remember any other thing I drank or ate that could also make me feel like that. So I also, after experiencing some types of chocolate that had a high amount of sugar in them, I also got bloated, got really bloated instantly, a lot of stomach pain, and negative thoughts would come with that. So that's how I noticed that some of these foods really affect me mentally and physically. And I really try to stay away from those foods. I don't have them, but it really affects my mental health a lot.
Yeah, it's funny because you're obviously not fat and you haven't been overweight, right? I mean, you're super strong. You probably deadlift more than me. You definitely deadlift more than many of the vegan critics out there hating on you for going back to me. You know, I mean, a strong woman working out for a while, not overweight, seemingly metabolically healthy in appearance, but obviously exhibiting symptoms of showing heavy insulin resistance when you are consuming the sugary foods. And it's like you and I probably in a similar place where it's like I was never obese, but I had excess body fat and I had marked insulin resistance for a lot of my life, where I would eat something and then I would just feel a crash afterwards. Right? Like I remember in high school, I would go to school, I'd eat like a burrito or something, like really high starchy foods, or, you know, some really sweet pastries or muffins or some shit like that from Costco. And I would go to school, and at least almost every single day, about 2 hours after my meal, I would feel like sleeping. And of course, I'm in school listening to all the nonsense lies that you're learning in high school and the American education public indoctrination centers. And there's that aspect too, but there's the physical aspect of me just feeling drained and just feeling worn out. And we can have insulin resistance without being fat, right? We can get insulin resistant through improper circadian rhythm. We got a few people talking about sunshine over here in the chat right now. And then sun, like that. I mean, that's crucial. Sunshine is of vital importance. And that's why you see KasumiKriss in her dark ass house right now, because and you think I'm joking, but yeah, go ahead. And let me say something. She's smart for having a dark ass house right now. The reason she's smart is she is optimizing her circadian rhythm through minimizing the exposure to artificial light and maximizing the natural light throughout the day. So there are these cycles that will affect our circadian rhythm, that in our glucose tolerance and our insulin resistance levels, that go beyond just diet. Right? You know, diet's a big aspect, but I mean, we're looking like if you get one night of poor sleep, you're going to have pre-diabetic blood glucose numbers. Imagine getting one night of poor sleep every single night for half a year. What's that going to do to your fasting insulin? What's that going to do to fasting blood glucose? It's going to throw it so aberrant that you might get type 2 diabetes without even being overweight. And some people can not even realize that they have such gnarly blood sugar dysregulation. So I think it's really interesting. You would think that somebody who's lean, who's working out, who's got significant muscle mass, like Kasumi, would be able to pound some Haagen-Dazs and feel fine the next day. But it's not always the case. And we've also got gut bacteria, gut dysbiosis that can happen, especially from long-term deprivation of certain nutrients. And So what do you notice first? Do you notice the mental and emotional aspect of the inflammatory response, or the physical inflammation?
It depends. I noticed that something with, I think I ate some cookies too, and those give me first the physical, or no, those don't really do anything physical to my digestive system so much, but I noticed to feel down quite quick mentally. And when it's something that it's a poor quality chocolate or something like the ice cream, then I would feel it the other way around.
Nice. And was it bad enough of a response that it made you want to just not go for it again, or was it still kind of tempting? Like, well, maybe it's worth it.
With the Haagen-Dazs ice cream, I haven't eaten that anymore because that was the most terrible one, because I literally had suicidal thoughts the day afterwards, and that really scared me. It was like, okay, I'm not going to eat that. Like, I could try it in 2 years again, because I don't want to, like, I really, it's really tasty. I eventually want to probably eat it again, but not right now. With the chocolate, it's still kind of a battle because I always have loved chocolate a lot. I now have it maybe once a week, but in the beginning, when I switched over, I literally had it every night, and it wouldn't bother me so much. But I think the more I started to clean out my diet, the more I could figure out what was affecting me and not. And I noticed also that certain types of chocolate also have that effect on me. So sometimes some type of chocolate doesn't really do much. It does make me go to the bathroom right away, and I feel weird in my stomach, but I don't have the mental effects of it. But other types of chocolate just give me a sad feeling right away in my head. So with that, I was kind of sometimes experimenting and telling myself, yeah, you can eat it, it's okay. And then I would feel a bad effect afterwards and not eat it for a week, and then maybe try something again. But when I feel the effect is really heavy, I just cut it out completely. And yeah, something with chocolate, I still sometimes dabble in it.
Like 100% cacao doesn't have to be an issue. The problem is the sugar. I mean, for some people, they might be highly sensitive to oxalate. There is some oxalate content in cacao. There's also super high magnesium and selenium content. So it's like, does that balance out the oxalate toxicity for some people? Possibly. Cacao is one of the few plant foods that I eat regularly. Even though I miss it. I've got a whole drawer full of chocolate bars, like underneath my desk here, because I love these things. 100%. I wish.
Yeah.
I have to send you one. These are really good. So we sell these on our site actually. They're 100% cacao. These are some of probably my favorite chocolate bar in the world. And you can see it's got like a silver medal. It won the silver medal at the World Chocolate Awards, and it was the only 100% cacao bar to place at all in the top 10, and it got silver. So I love chocolate. I'm a huge fan, but it's the sugar for a lot of people. It's even 80% cacao. Especially when you've cut carbs so low, that can just throw us right back into that glucose metabolism and kind of put us in that what I call like the limbo zone, where you're kind of burning fat and oxidizing fatty acids, probably in kind of a caloric deficit. And a lot of people end up finding themselves here where they're trying to transition into keto, and then they have like 30 grams of carbs every now and then. They'll have like one candy bar or like half a serving of ice cream, and they think it's going to be fine, but then the next day they're like ravenously hungry for more chocolate, for more sugar. So that's kind of an issue for a lot of people. When you're first starting out, I usually recommend that people kind of go, for the audience out there, if you're starting out keto, definitely recommend in the beginning times, in the first few months, go more strict with it. Like, keep those carbs really low and get adapted to burning fat, and then titrate in some carbohydrates later on. Learn to use carbohydrates for what they're meant for. They're a performance enhancer. Sugar, glucose, it's a very viable fuel for the human body. Problem becomes when we're constantly trying to shove glucose down the gullet and we're not able to properly burn fat. The body can get confused, especially in those caloric surplus situations. So titrating in glucose later on, having some carbs around training can be a good idea, but definitely in like the first, I usually recommend like 12 weeks, really, and that's minimum, like 3 months. When you're first starting out keto, give it that much time without so-called cheats, and that usually helps for the audience out there. I know there's a lot of people who are just maybe getting into keto, just getting into a carnivorous style diet. The back and forth shit really doesn't end up making you feel very good. So let's talk about, speaking of like keto and stuff. I know you've been kind of cutting the carbs really low. How How has this whole process been for you? Kind of the keto adaptation that you've been going through over the last few weeks. How has this been?
Yeah, I think in general, pretty easy. I don't miss any type of starches or grains or not even vegetables. I really appreciate the taste of the animal products that I'm eating. Like finally, eating something with real taste from itself. So I've been really enjoying that, not missing any of the other things. So cutting out those things was very very easy in the beginning. I noticed myself having a kind of, I think, 4 days that I started to have a bit of flu and a lot of headaches. And like, was not so much that I was feeling down or anything, but my body was feeling a bit heavy. And I just, yeah, there a lot of mucus just coming out of me and
The
having
dreaded
random headaches
keto
every.
flu. The keto
Yeah,
flu, yeah. So mucus, oh man. You're sneezing a lot too, like
yeah,
allergic reaction almost?
yeah. I had that too. I was sneezing, and yeah, so it was as if I was getting sick, but I got over it fairly yeah, fairly quick. It was a couple of days, and then afterwards I started just to um, yeah, improve very steadily. Like my energy was coming up and up, and just feeling happier in general. So after that, yeah, it went really good.
Now, I remember something, it could be hard, when you talk to a lot of people about their daily life. Now, forgive me if I'm wrong, but there was some sort of, you did a little bit of meal timing adjustment as well. And that's kind of something we like to work on, Keto Collective. We like to talk about the importance of, it's not just what we eat. Sometimes it's when you eat it that can make a huge freaking difference in your performance and energy throughout the day and how well you feel, even how well you sleep. So what about meal timing? Like, what have you kind of found with the timing of your meals and how that affects your hunger and your energy throughout the day?
Yeah, so I've switched that up big time. When I was vegan, I was really into intermittent fasting. I would yeah, wait until I got really hungry, or sometimes even go over those hunger points. Some of the days I felt great, and but most of the days not at all. And I think that also affected my hormones a lot, because I noticed, I've seen a video of yours that it's really beneficial for women to just have breakfast. And I thought that, yeah, just let me try that out, just to have breakfast in the morning, even though I'm not feeling that hungry, just having it within an hour of waking up. And that has been a big difference for me. It has really improved my sleeping pattern, the way I feel in general, and I think it definitely had some improvement with my hormones. um, I don't eat late until the night anymore. I used to eat maybe up until right going before going to bed, maybe after 10 sometimes, but now the last thing I eat is maybe around 6 or 7. And that, I also see that the last part of the day before going to bed and waking up the next day is also a long stretch of fasting. So instead of doing that during the day, I do that in the evening time. And um, I have the benefit now of, I think it helps definitely with fat loss or with other types of things, but mentally and I think hormonally, it has improved so much. I really love breakfast again. I used to like it when I was a teenager and kid before going vegan, but then during my vegan phase, I, yeah, started to do the intermittent fasting, but now really experiencing that difference, eating my breakfast is really good for me, and I want to keep it in that way.
I love it. Some people get pissed at me. I'm like, look, I know intermittent fasting can feel kind of good. I mean, it's like you get intermittent fasting. There's a lot of benefits, right? The benefits of intermittent fasting. It's not just a myth, but if you do intermittent fasting in certain ways, you can kind of negate a lot of those benefits, and especially for females. So, ladies out there, if you're fasting until 1 o'clock in the afternoon and you don't seem to be sleeping so well, your fat loss is stalling, and you're getting crashes after your first meal, just try what what Crystal was just talking about. KasumiKriss, try what she was just talking about. Throw breakfast in the mix, right? Eating 1 hour within the time that you wake up, can be a game changer for a lot of people. Remember, we've got, like we talked about earlier, a natural circadian rhythm. Our body is yoked to our light environment. When we wake up, we open our eyes. That light comes through your window. It hits your eye. It goes through your suprachiasmatic nucleus in the brain, and that tells you to wake up, and it tells you to make cortisol. Cortisol raises your blood glucose. Not a problem. You want to raise your blood glucose. You want to have a little bit of cortisol in the morning, but you don't want to have cortisol elevated for 5 more hours necessarily. Some people can do fine with it. Some people adjust to it fine. But especially for women, and I'll say this, and obviously this has nothing to do with Crystal, but especially, premenopause, right? Or during menopause, definitely become much more sensitive to the meal timing and to the inverted cortisol cycle of sometimes eating too late. So eat that first meal in the morning. And if you still want to do intermittent fasting, you can. Like if you have your first meal at 8 o'clock in the morning and then you have your last meal at like 3 or 4 in the afternoon, that can be a great way to go about it. Or if you just drop the dogma of the intermittent fasting altogether and you give yourself breakfast, and then for social reasons, if you want to have dinner with your family or something, you can fast from breakfast until dinner and get like a nice 12-hour fast 2 times a day and enjoy it. So stop getting stuck on the like 16, 8, 14, whatever. There's so many different dogmatic approaches to this, and they all have their place. All these different meal spreads have their place, but for the most part, especially for the ladies, eating breakfast can have huge beneficial effects on metabolism, on the digestion, and on your sleep cycle. So it's not just crazy Tristan saying it. It does work. Crystal's testifying to it. So yeah, that's something we like to work on in Keto Collective is the meal timing stuff, and that can make a huge difference. Now, did you used to get? I could be wrong again. I could be like sometimes I mix all my friends up and what they're dealing with. But did you? I think I remember you saying you used to get like a midday lull in energy every once in a while, where you were experiencing kind of like a crash.
Yeah. In the beginning, it was not like that, but eventually, I think had also to do with the dairy. But I was starting to get a dip in the midday, and that was also a great thing I learned from the Keto and Carnivore Collective about salt. Because as a vegan, I would avoid salt like it was the devil as well. Like no salt on my food. I wouldn't have it near me. I wouldn't put it on my food. I wouldn't want to have it
dead
added
rocks,
to my food.
Ground up dead rocks, toxic.
Yeah, that you would like if you consume salt, you would get really fat and just retain a lot of water weight. Like a lot of things where I read about a lot of things that would make me really scared of salt. But then I don't remember the doctor anymore, but you also said to take a bit of water and add some salt to it and have that right before that lull in the midday would happen. And also before my workouts and after my workouts. And that has been really helping as well. And I notice it also that when I drink the salt water, that it tastes sweet to me every time I drink it, actually. There's never a time that I drink salt water and it doesn't taste good. And that has been really beneficial to me. I never would have thought that just drinking salt water would be so positive, actually.
Yeah, it's fun. The way that I like to do it, I usually just take the salt and I just put it in my mouth. And the way you can tell if you've got enough sodium or not, if you put salt in your mouth and it almost tastes sweet and it tastes good and it feels pleasant in your mouth, you want salt. If you put salt in your mouth and you're just like, nah, that's way too salty, I don't need any of that, then you probably have enough sodium. So I think sodium's a really big one for especially ketogenic and carnivore style diets. A lot of people, I do know some people who don't add salt and they seem to be doing fine. But what I do find is people who are highly active, who sweat, like you, you deadlift, 900 pounds, right? No, I'm just kidding. But I think I've seen you deadlift 3 plates like it was nothing, right?
I don't know what the pounds. I know only kilograms, so I don't know.
You do 180 kilos, you deadlift, right?
Oh no, that was my cousin. He did it as if it was nothing.
Oh, he was repping 180 kilos like it was nothing. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But I've seen you do 120 kilos like it's nothing.
Yeah, that was my max.
That wasn't your max. You did like 3 reps.
Was it? No, I never did 200. I did 100 kilograms. I could do 5 to 7 times.
Okay,
I
cool.
just did one time
Just got
120.
it. All right. Mistake. But yeah, so it's like if you're sweating, if you're putting out a lot of energy, you need sodium. We need electrolytes in our blood. And when we go on a low carbohydrate diet, when we pull out the carbs, the kidneys will excrete sodium, magnesium, and potassium. So salt is really, really important. Now, like Volek and Finney, they usually recommend like 5 to 7,000 milligrams of salt a day. That can be accomplished through like 3 teaspoons of salt a day. So I usually end up telling people, and for me, it's really easy. You know, I can eat 2 teaspoons of salt on a meal, depending on the size of the meal, if it's a large meal. But yeah, 2 to 3 teaspoons of salt a day, especially if you're working out, especially if you get leg cramps at night, stuff like that. Or if you have a lull of energy throughout the day, it's like, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you usually get a lull of energy. That could be lack of electrolytes and sodium, especially in the keto adaptation phase. So usually what I say is like a half teaspoon of salt, take it down, and you'll have more energy. But then sometimes too, it's like if you're really hungry at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe eating a couple hours before that to push the hunger back a little bit can be a good strategy too. But it all really depends on the context there. But that's awesome. So you find that your relationship with salt is a little different now?
Oh, definitely. I really appreciate salt right now. I first also had only the salt that had those caking agents. You also mentioned that it's rather get the one without the really pure salt, without the additive to it. So today, actually today I got Celtic sea salt for the first time, and I
Nice.
also got one that one time I used to do a study natural food chef course, and they actually talked into depth why salt is very beneficial for you and why you should get it. They were kind of Himalayan salt. And I got now this Okinawan sea salt. It's
Nice.
supposedly also a really good one. So I have this one and I have a Celtic sea salt. And I tried the Celtic sea salt today I made the beef stew, the coconut beef stew from your
Yeah.
ketogenic edge cookbook. It was
Nice.
really tasty. It's like kind of crunchy. It's really awesome. I got the one that wasn't so super fine. So yeah, it's really, really good.
I like the coarse salt as well. Oh, that's a caveat too. Let me just say this. All right, for the salt, if you have coarse salt, a teaspoon of coarse salt is going to have much less salt than the super finely ground stuff. So I will like, and I
Oh,
usually recommend that people use whole unrefined salt, and it's usually it's not ground up into like a fine powder like some of the like the what's it called Morton salt is. So like a teaspoon of really coarse salt will have less sodium than a teaspoon of very very finely ground up powderized salt. So just throwing that out there for everybody. I'm talking about whole unrefined salt, usually sea salt, which is more coarse. So a teaspoon for me might be like a half teaspoon of that super ground up fine caked stuff. But that's cool. Well, thanks for the shout out of the on the ketogenic edge cookbook there. We appreciate that. We usually we try to teach from we use both of our books to teach from in the Keto and Carnivore Collective. The ketogenic edge cookbook is kind of like the basics. It's not a carnivorous book, but there's a whole section on organ meats. We teach you how to make tallow, how to render tallow and stuff like that. Which, oh yeah, you made tallow, right?
yeah, that was awesome. And I also, yeah, I made the tallow, and it was really interesting. I think they also
Smoking
make,
that,
I
smoking
think,
them cracklings.
yeah, and the cracklings, those were so tasty. It reminded me of uh, I think in Spanish it's called chicharrón. It's like some type of crackling made from pork fat. And when I
Chicharrones.
ate it, it just, yeah, I reminded me that I had those as a kid. I really loved them. And then when I ate this, I was like, oh, I need to really make more of those. It's really nice. Yeah, so the cookbook really explains it well how to make them, and was really easy as well.
Yeah,
This
the
was really
cracklings are
nice.
so cool. So what she's talking about is when you render tallow. So everybody Discover the Wild Homestead. Thanks for the shout out. Says this month's collective has been great. Yeah, it's been nice to have you here. We're glad you could join us. For tallow, for rendering tallow, if you take suet, where did you buy suet, by the way? Let's talk about that. So suet is
Oh,
the outer fat around the kidney of the animal. Here in Ecuador, you call it what do you call it? Se llama sebo in Ecuador. But in Amsterdam, might be a little bit different. In the U.S., you call it suet, suet. And it can be really cheap. Some butchers will give you suet for free because nobody wants it, because they think fat is bad, because they're brainwashed. Yeah, so where did you get your suet from?
Yeah, it was really cheap. It was at my butcher. I go to a really nice organic butcher. It's very close to my home, and they have so many nice cuts of food and stuff. But yeah, I just asked them, "Do you have some?" Um, I think I just called it tallow because I didn't know what name. I didn't know how it was called, so I thought the word was tallow, but that tallow is what you render from the suet. So they were just looking behind in the store what they had, and they just came up with it's called here near fat, so it's literally fat from the kidney, and they just gave me a bag. It was really cheap, and yeah, I just keep on asking questions to my butchers, and they come up with new things from behind that they don't really display in the store. So that's how I found out about it, just asking them questions. Like in the beginning, it does feel a little bit weird
Yeah,
asking these
right. Hey,
questions. Like
do
I
you have
feel
some
like a bit of a
fat?
weirdo.
Do you have like a sack of
Yeah.
beef fat back there that I can use? It feels totally weird if you never ask for it. But the butchers,
Yeah.
they're cool people. They're usually really
Hmm.
open. They're usually really kind and totally open to selling you some of the odd bits that they got back there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they really, really, they talk about what when they get it, and they really explain to you what you can do with it. So yeah, it's maybe in the beginning it's kind of awkward for yourself to ask these things because you should never have asked these questions, and you might think those butcher think you're a bit crazy, but they know about all of these things.
Yeah, here we get suet costs us 50 cents a pound. So if you get 20 pounds of suet, you usually end up getting, I don't know, much less beef fat because a lot of it are these crackling things that we were talking about earlier. But you can get several jars of tallow that will last, I mean, depending on how much you use, months for like $10 here. And in other places in the US, you can get it for even less. Like I said, some of them will just give it away because they have nowhere else to put it. So ask your butcher. I mean, same thing with like liver and stuff. Now, how did you procure liver?
What did you say?
How did you go about getting liver? You mentioned you've been eating liver recently as well and getting into the organs.
Yeah, also at the same butcher, I asked them if they have had liver, and they just have this whole a fridge or a freezer where they always have the chicken liver ready, so you can just grab it out and go to the cashier and buy it. But for the beef liver and the calf's liver, I never saw it displayed. So I also one time uh, try to find my courage and ask them, "Do you sell liver from the beef and from the calf?" And then they mentioned they had it. They had it in the freezer, and that's how I got it. And actually today it was the first time that I saw it displayed fresh. So they told me that once every week they of course they get it fresh, and then when they have leftovers they will put it in the freezer. So today they said to me, like, give me your number and your names. Every time when we have the fresh liver, we will give you a call so you can come and get it. So
That's
today I
so
had,
cool. That is so awesome.
yeah, today I had fresh calf's liver for the first time, and I really enjoyed it. It was so tasty.
We had some calf liver the other day. We had some calf liver yesterday. My stomach felt a little weird from it. I don't know. This was this might sound weird to some people. All right, so when you slaughter an animal, if you slaughter a cow, a lot of the times the cow was pregnant when it goes to slaughter. Especially here in Ecuador, seasonal conception and the animals will cause, during certain times of the year, like right now, you're seeing a lot of like 4 to 5 month old pregnant cows being slaughtered. So you'll get veal that's like unborn veal. So we had some calf's liver from the fetus yesterday, and it tasted so mellow. It was really weird. Like normally liver has got a little bit of a funk to it, like that deep robust flavor that's almost it's hard to explain, but like a mature liver, it tastes really really good to me. But when you first eat it, it might taste funky. Calf's liver is much more smooth. The liver we had yesterday, it almost tasted like tomato. Do you get that too? Like it almost tastes like that lycopene. I don't know, like I say tomato, but maybe I'm just a weirdo. Did it taste like that to you, that calf's liver?
No, not today. I cannot really also place it really. Yeah, it was kind of a sweeter, softer. flavor, that typical liver flavor was in there, but it wasn't. Um, yeah, it wasn't a this. I said the first time I ate liver, I didn't really like that taste, but
Yeah.
now I could appreciate it a lot.
If it's
But
not
not really
prepared,
like tomato.
I know if liver's not prepared correctly, it doesn't taste right. If liver's cooked too much, it tastes like shit. It's all chewy. If it's not cooked enough, it can taste kind of funky. I actually prefer liver raw nowadays, but I mean, it did take me. I do recognize that I've been eating liver. The first time I tried liver raw was like 5 years ago. So I've been eating liver raw for a long time, and just now do I prefer it raw to cook most of the time. So I think it's funny that you said that you prefer liver raw now as well, or you've been eating it mostly
Yeah,
raw. Is that because you prefer the taste
yeah.
raw, or is it just because of the benefits of not, cooking out those fat soluble vitamins like vitamin A and vitamin D and K2?
Yeah, I think both because the first time I cooked the chicken liver and um, I kind of I like the taste, but now I gotten used to eating it raw, and yeah, I think prefer the texture a lot more like that, like how the way how I bite through it, and you can easily swallow it as well.
Yeah, it just kind of
So I
melts.
prefer it. Yeah, yeah, indeed. It just goes away, like it almost or like dissipates in your mouth. So yeah, I prefer it raw. Eat it
Nice.
raw.
Well, all right, just looked at the time. We've got another guest lined up for the second hour. The second hour, I'm talking to a guy. He put a comment on a video the other day saying, "Dude, you banned me like 5 years ago for trolling your comment section, and now I'm on a carnivore diet. I left the vegan diet, so I had to invite him on the stream to come talk. You get somebody
Yeah.
who used to troll your channel, who's on a carnivore diet now. So we're gonna talk to DrewMorg next. Crystal, I just want to thank you again for coming on and sharing your experiences. It's always nice kind of, learning from your experiences, it's cool seeing how fast you've progressed in this journey so far. And it's just been a real honor having you join us on the Keto Collective this month. So, yeah, thanks a lot for joining. For the audience, the next we are doing a Keto Collective in October. We're going to do an October Keto Collective session. That is going to start on October 7th. It's going to be a 4-week sesh. So we do 4-week sessions. We do 2 live interactive voice chats per week. One of those is like a lecture, and then we do a Q&A at the end. The other one is just Q&A troubleshooting for you guys. We get into circadian rhythms, food prep. Jessica's got kind of a whole journaling as well as meal planning packet that she set up, which is really, really helpful for people. So we touch on a lot of the stuff. There's going to be a link down below in the description for the Keto and Carnivore Collective. So yeah, got to use this opportunity to plug that because the next session starts this Sunday, right? So right now it's Monday. We got 6 days until the next session. The last session for this month's session of the Keto and Carnivore Collective is on Sunday, and then we're starting the next session right again because we had a few people requesting an October Keto and Carnivore Collective. So for you guys who want to get down on the Keto and Carnivore Collective, highly recommend it. I highly recommend it, obviously. Well, it's because we're the ones who run it. But Crystal, what do you think about the Keto Collective this month? If you hated it, tell us. You got to be honest. If it sucks, you got to tell us. What did you think about it?
Gonna be really, 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 really honest.
Okay, I'm muting
I
you. Hold on. Let me
definitely
mute. Delay. No, I'm kidding.
no. I really think that if it wasn't for this Keto and Carnivore Collective, would have no idea where I would have ended up. I would probably not feel as great as I was doing now because it was so helpful. Like especially the things I learned about protein was very helpful to me. Yeah, with the salt intake, with the intermittent fasting, and just being able to, when I had a question or a problem, I could yeah ask it in the group and I would get response right back from you or from Jessica. And I think it was due to this that it went so quick for me that I really got into this feeling really, really good. So I think it's most due to the carnivore Keto and Carnivore Collective. So thank you very much for also, yeah, that I could be a part of that. It was really helpful. Yeah. Um, I would say lifestyle, and I'm now heading into a little bit of cosplay, and I'm kind of a Japan geek. I like games and anime and those kind of things, so I'm showing more of that. But if I would be honest, I don't really know what my channel is about. I haven't figured it out. I'm just sharing my life basically and lifestyle things and vlogs.
Nice. I didn't realize I was muted before, but what I was saying when I was muted earlier, guys, everyone in the chat's like, "You're muted, sound." Okay, I'm sorry. I muted myself. What I was saying is you got to make sure to subscribe to KasumiKriss on YouTube, and she's also got an Instagram, and she's on on Facebook too, the Facebook gulag.
Yep.
All right, she's on Facebook, she's on Instagram, KasumiKriss, and yeah, I really look forward to seeing more of what comes of this. I think you've been really, really doing an awesome job with your channel. I think the positive message, the do what works for you, right? Or what was it? What was your campaign?
Find what feels good for you. Yeah.
Find what feels good for you. And that's what's up,
Uh-huh.
guys. It's not all about you got to eat
Yeah.
just like Tristan. You got to search out bone marrow and eat that as often as you can because Tristan likes it. No, I don't fucking care what you eat. Eat what you can eat. To not fart, poop,
Yeah.
be angry and suicidal all day, lather, rinse, and repeat, right? Like find what you can eat that you can feel good with, that you can perform with, that you can enjoy your life with, that your body's not constantly revolting, belching, shitting, and do it. And do it for the rest of your
Yeah.
life. Because if you're looking for fat loss, if you're looking for health, it takes a holistic lifestyle approach, and it's more than just diet, right? So it's like you got to ask yourself, why am I doing what I'm doing? And I think that's a really cool part of how you've been sharing your journey, your lifestyle stuff on your blog, is you shared your struggles. You came out and you said, hey, this isn't working for me and this is why. And I think that's really, really important. And all the former vegans out there, I'm sure many of them have contacted you and thanked you for what you did. And shoot, a lot of future ex-vegans, which is, you know, most all current vegans are future ex-vegans. You can definitely take note of the fact that you can take your life back, you can take your health back, and you don't have to be stuck in this ideological hellhole of a starvation diet, this anti-human diet, anti-fertility cult of veganism, and you can get out of it and be healthy and happy and effective in your life. So, yeah. Any last thoughts,
True.
Crystal, before I jump over to Andrew?
No, that was it. I think that was a wonderful message that you shared. I totally agree with it. So yeah, thank you.
All right. So as you can see, guys, vegan to carnivore. It's doing it pretty dang well. I don't even think she's not even like fully carnivore. She's more like a keto, more carnivore diet. She's not doing a dogmatic approach. So, and she's finding what works for her. So, you guys gotta subscribe to Crystal over at KasumiKriss. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
I'll talk to you soon. Hit me up if you need anything, Crystal. And thanks a lot for coming on
Yeah,
the show.
thanks. Bye.
Bye. Have a good one. All right. Well, that was cool. Well, that was cool. KasumiKriss on YouTube. Beautiful woman, right? Strong woman. She was rocking. She got a sweater. She bought a Eat Meat Make Families sweater. I've got the tanks right here. The Eat Meat Make Families tanks. Got Andrew Scarborough in the chat. Andrew, I'd love to have you on again soon. Andrew came on the show. Shoot, must have been like 3 or 4 years ago, the first time. Cancer survivor, been using a ketogenic diet to manage and a carnivore style diet to manage his cancer. In fact, when I talked to Andrew, it was before there was even any the carnivore diet, and he talked all about his fully carnivorous approach to keto. Must have been 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. So Andrew, you got to come on again. Andrew is he's my OG carnivore diet advocate that I've been talking to, and he's a good dude. But we got another Andrew to talk to right now. I got my buddy DrewMorg. So DrewMorg on YouTube, DREWMORG. DrewMorg's about to jump on. Let's see here. Drew,
Here we go. What's up, Tristan?
what's up, buddy? Hey, let me fix. I've got an audio issue again. Seems like every
Okay.
time I start a new call, I have to switch Can you hear me, Drew?
I can hear you and I can see you.
All right, now I can hear you.
Cool.
Beautiful. What's up, buddy?
What's up? Are we live or are we in between right now?
Oh, we're live, my friend.
Hey, what's up, audience?
There's no going
Eat meat,
back.
make families, baby.
There you
'Cause the
go. I
vegans
gotta
ain't-
get you a shirt, dude.
The vegans ain't making them. Trust me.
Isn't that funny? And that's why they get really upset by that saying. This guy, vegan footlicker or something like that. He's like a vegan YouTuber. He wears like a hat and
Yeah, I
he
know
looks
who you're
like
talking
Ichabod Crane with a sock on his head. Vegan footlicker. Check out his channel. But he made this video and he was like, he couldn't even say the name of my show. He couldn't even say Eat Meat Make Families because he despises it so much. Just like that spirit of hate was just seething out of him, and he goes, "Oh, he's some idiot." He tried to say he called me a fundamentalist Christian, which is completely not true. Not a fundamentalist Christian. Said he's a Christian fundamentalist, and he said that his saying is something that's basically like, "Go be fruitful and multiply." But he knows damn well that the saying is "eat meat, make families," but he couldn't even speak it because the spite in his little vegan fragile bones wouldn't allow it to come out of his mouth. But
He tried. He tried.
he tried. You sent me you threw a comment up on a video. You were like, "Tristan, I got banned from your channel like 5 years ago for talking shit in the comments, and now I'm on a carnivore diet." And you just said it was, I think that was the gist of the comment, and I was like, dude, you got to come on the show. That's awesome. So yeah, man, let's go from the beginning. First of all,
right.
You guys got to make sure to subscribe. DrewMorg on YouTube, DrewMorg on YouTube, and yeah, give us the rundown, dude. How did all of this start? What the hell happened?
Okay, so I've made a couple videos on this. I actually, by the way, just to let everybody know, because people have been clamoring for the 30-day carnivore review video that I promised everybody. That's going to end up being a 40-day carnivore review video. I just need to edit it. It's shot. It's ready to go. So that'll be up the next day or two, hopefully by the end of today. So where it all started for me, kind of going super downhill, I guess you could say, is I'm living in Hawaii at this point. Well, now I'm back in California, but until yesterday, I was living in Hawaii for 2 years. Which was awesome. But so I moved to Hawaii. I'm around a lot of vegan community, and it was like one of those situations where you look around and instead of seeing like glimmering stars of health and athleticism and like everybody's pretty happy because everybody, I have to say, is very positive mindset people. Like they have a strong mindset, but for some reason, one reason or another, like the diet wasn't necessarily providing them all of the healing that they desired in their body, let's just say. So that was one thing. Like I saw people still struggling with weight issues, skin issues, long-term serious health issues. We know of somebody who has a long-term raw vegan who had cancer in the group. We're talking a raw vegan, not even a regular vegan, right? So
What type of cancer diagnosis was that?
Ooh, I don't even know if I really want to go too deep into it. My main goal here is not to totally slander the vegans. I still have a lot of vegan friends, obviously. In my opinion, it depends. It depends what kind of vegans you're talking about. Like,
well, I mean,
vegans,
saying what kind of diagnosis, an anecdote, like I'm just interested because I've seen people on raw vegan diets have heart attacks. So it's like,
yeah.
And it doesn't mean, that doesn't mean that I'm cheering that on. It's horrific. And in fact, I was involved with many people from raw vegan communities, even though me myself, I never went fully raw for a long time. I did do a few months, and I could say it fucking wrecked my health and my gut. But yeah, it is interesting that, people are saying, the people who are proponents of this diet are saying it's like the cure for cancer. But, I mean, clearly people are still getting heart attacks and cancer, even though they're on these raw vegan diets. So, I mean, it's in no way am I looking to slander any vegans or anything. Like I said, if I had a best friend, he'd be vegan and black and a woman and transvestite, all those things.
So you can learn, learn, about the opposite. Well, I guess, it's not to slant. I just don't want to I don't want to put that person out on the
spot. For sure, if somebody would know who you were talking about, I understand.
They would.
I'm just saying from my perspective, I got no problem with you vegans out there. We got love for you. In fact, what we want to do is see you guys healthy and see you guys have a healthy worldview and help people out and feel better.
Yeah. So she, long story short, I mean, but she was like basically terminal. Like she was on her deathbed. I mean, couldn't gain weight, couldn't eat. Um, and actually, what helped her was one of my friends had flown out to actually help take care of her, essentially on hospice. And and I was made fun of in my group as like the protein guy because I was one of the only vegans that actually supplemented with protein powder because I wanted to actually work out and make some muscular gains because I realized pretty quickly that the whole foods plant-based diet in the truest sense of it was giving me absolutely no results whatsoever, aesthetic and performance-wise. So I had actually done a 30-day juice fast. For your audience that doesn't know me, I did a 30-day juice fast. I dropped, and then I followed that up with 30 days of raw vegan, so 60 days total, and I lost about 15 pounds. A lot of muscle mass lost, as you would expect, right? Because you're essentially starving or eating very low calorie. So that's when I arrived on the doorsteps of Hawaii. So I tried to gain back that weight, and it took me 2 years to basically get back up to 150, 155 pounds, which was my starting weight, which isn't heavy to begin with. So
Right,
even
it's like a
gaining
healthy
back,
weight for a guy your size. How tall are you?
I'm 5'10", so it's like
Yeah.
I think we're like the same height, right?
I'm
I think you're
actually
about 5'10".
I'm 5'8", and I'm about 150 to 160, depending on how fat I am. Trying to tell myself I'm building muscle at the time. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
well,
I
that's
fluctuate 150 to 160.
yeah. So where were we? So yeah, basically just trying to gain that weight back, seeing other people with issues, hearing about the woman with cancer. Eventually, like I said, my roommate went over there. She started pumping vegan protein shakes into her because the chick didn't want to would never eat even like um the guy on the left still looks like skinny vegan starving. Thank you, SK. So anyways, the chick goes and starts gaining weight and starts gaining the ability to eat again. So just right there, that like little protein boost like helped her even on the vegan proteins. And so I just like started putting a lot of these little variables together, like these little details that were coming, just coming to me over time. And all this stuff with vegetable please started popping up in the last 3 months specifically. And I started seeing the Sean Baker videos. And I already knew about your channel from years ago. But the ketogenic thing was always in my head. It's like when I first went vegan, I had to choose 50-50. It's like plants and vegetables or all meat and very little plants and vegetables. Like which way sounds safer from the common sense aspect? Obviously, the fruit and vegetables kind of makes sense for a lot of people, but that's the way I chose. And then, I had a lot of issues. I had teeth issues. I had major digestive issues the whole time as a vegan. There's a very brief period where I had good digestion, and it was during the whole foods plant-based, ironically, but I could make absolutely no muscle or weight gains whatsoever. And
You
the
just
rest of
found
the
like a groove of certain foods that you were able to tolerate and digest, but it still wasn't leading to the body composition changes you wanted.
exactly. Like for instance, I was doing a bunch of 64 ounces of orange juice
Oh my
in the morning
goodness.
with chia seeds. So it was destroying my teeth very quickly.
And it's a
And then
photosensitizer. Did you get sunburned when you were doing that?
no, I mean I'm Cuban, so I don't
No, it
really
don't
I
matter.
don't
Yeah, you rub your balls on the sun all day, you'll be fine.
yeah, so the sun is, I'm always good with the sun, but I'd be doing smoothies and stuff, and that's what, or actually, sorry, at that time I wasn't doing smoothies. That I believe was a key component. Eating fruit by hand, not by smoothie. I think once you blend it all up, it's just too much sugar at once. The cellulose is all broken down, and then your body, the microbes in your gut just attack that sugar, and you get major fermentation and gas.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. So the digestive issues
Right.
that you're talking about was gas and bloating, intense gas and bloating.
Yeah. Yeah, I know some people
Smoothie
get like
poops. The smoothie's coming out the other end the same way, kind of thing.
well, it would be like massive amounts of fecal matter, obviously, when you're eating like really high carb, low fat, high fiber diet. You're
Oh, and
pooping like two,
loads of
three times a day.
chia, right? Like chia can be decent if it's done in the right way. Like there's certain chia recipes that I kind of like. And Jessica, she's got like the chia flatbreads. They're like, you could see a picture of those things. Those are all right, but dude, like blend
They're like
it
a
up,
binder.
bunch of chia blended up. Like man, that it's just going to suck all the nutrition out of your gut too, because nuts and seeds, they take minerals when they soak. They actually take minerals from their environment to soak.
Yeah. I know. I need to learn more about the cross referencing of foods, like how eating one affects the other. That's like, to me, that's level 3, knowledge of nutrition, where people don't even know level 1 yet. They're still struggling with fat and sugar at the same time is not good for you.
Yeah,
So,
baby steps helps, man. So the
yeah.
point, you were at the crossroads, you said. It was like plant-based vegan, or all these keto people eating meat, and they say it works too. And maybe, what was it that led you down the path of the vegan route? Like, what was the final straw that convinced you, like, this is the way, fuck all that meat stuff, I'm going plant-based?
So back then I was eating a pretty much standard bodybuilder type diet, low carb bodybuilder diet. We're talking like 100 to 150 grams of carbs a day, not really picky about where they're coming from, more of like an if it fits your macros style. Like a burger bun to me was the same as, brown rice. Like I didn't really care where it was coming from. I felt very lethargic all the time because at that point you're not fat adapted and you're running on low carbs. So you got the worst of both worlds, right? So I felt like crap, and then I ended up going to the vegan route. I got the Durian Rider message in my head. He's like, you got to be lean. All you need is carbs to build muscle. All you need is carbs to be healthy. Basically, this is like the best way ever.
Yeah, for sure. And like vasectomies for enlightenment. You didn't get a vasectomy, did you?
I did not, man. No.
Oh, I'm so happy for you.
I knew a lot of people that had them, and it just that did not call to me. Even though, like, I got to be honest, I've never been somebody who wants kids.
Yeah.
But for me, that's like that's a line that you cross that basically, in a way, I think it actually turns women off from you, because you basically lose that essence to be able to produce. And I think that subconsciously is like a really important part of the whole experience of attraction, and that's a whole different topic. But
absolutely, no, that's an interesting one to bring up too. I mean, and also, what about just personal well-being, right? It's like we as human beings, a lot of the time, everybody's looking for something, right? I'm not going to get into like the theological, metaphysical aspects of that. People are looking for something. People have desires, and having a relationship and then having children is usually, in most people, a part of the whole story arc of being human. That's of vital importance to their well-being and just wanting, and their desires of wanting to live, right? Like having like a wife, having kids. It's like, it's fuel, and it takes you to this. If you don't want to have kids, no problem. Like, to the audience out there, I'm not saying you got to have kids, but say if you're 25 years old, you're going through something, quarter life crisis, you just got out of university, you know what the fuck you're going to do with your life, you don't know what you're all about, you've been told all kinds of lies about where you're coming from, who you are, where you're going your whole life, and you're looking for something to create an identity, and you find this vegan movement, and everyone in this vegan movement's making themselves sterile, talking about how bad kids are for Gaia. The kids are so bad for the earth, they're going to ruin Mama Gaia. She bleeds and she cries every time a baby is born. Gaia sheds a tear. It's like, and then you get the vasectomy, and you're told, it's reversible by Durian Rider. So what happens 10 years down the line? You meet a beautiful woman, you have a totally different worldview. You're probably not even in the vegan movement anymore, because, like I've said a lot, almost every current vegan that you know right now is a future ex-vegan. Most of them will leave that movement. But anyways, long story short, not to be long-winded and fucking annoying, but what happens 10 years down the line if you want to have a baby and suddenly your dick doesn't work? Your dick will still work, but you don't have the juice. You just can't do it. That could be emotionally, psychologically crushing. Like that could crush somebody. So please, for future ex-vegans out there, please don't get freaking vasectomies just because Durian Rider and these other psychopaths like Vegan Gains told you to. Please don't, because you might want to have kids one day. Even though you think you hate kids now, when you're 22 years old, spending all your time playing World of Warcraft, maybe 20 years down the line, you'll want those kids. So please don't do it. Okay, sorry for the tangent. It's my eat meat, make families tangent. So yeah, what was it that's
important?
Yeah. Well, what was it that made you, before I interrupt again and fuck up your whole answer? What was it that led you down that plant-based path instead of the keto path?
So yeah, it was just so radically different. If I figured that even if a fraction of it were true, that I would be in better shape than I was. Like I was kind of desperate for feeling energized and feeling healthy at that time. So I was just in sort of a physical rut, and I was looking for something that came along. Of course, it was a girl that influenced the decision. She's like, you can go vegan, babe. It'll help you. Like your energy will be up. I know vegan bodybuilders. Don't worry, you're not going to lose any muscle mass doing that. Blah blah blah. Right off the bat, and I actually don't even talk about the very early days very often. But I mean, I was in the gym 5 days a week with my buddy who is just a regular meat eater dude. We were both working out together side by side, and I was actually starting to lose strength right away as a vegan. And I just said, okay, well, it's because I'm not getting enough calories. That's my fault. Partly it was, but once I did start getting enough calories and I was feeling good, not digestion included. So digestion was still bad, but I had energy, right? So these two are separate. But I couldn't make muscle gains the way that I did as a meat eater. I've always been chasing my meat gains, I call it, as a vegan. I've never been able to achieve the same level of muscular growth and just power as a meat eater. You can't. You might be able to do it, but you're gonna really destroy your digestion in the process. There's just no way around that.
So 4 years you tried this. Almost 5 years. You were trying to get back to where you felt as good as when you were just on more of a standard American diet.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, there was times where I accepted this is what happens to a lot of vegans. I'm going to let a lot of people in on secrets here. A lot of vegans, so again, with the vasectomy thing, making themselves sterile. I mean, there's guys out there that are giving themselves vasectomies that don't even have sex on a regular basis. It's like, who are you getting the vasectomy for? You're not impregnating anybody anyway.
Doing
so
it to virtue signal.
It's almost like a statement.
Yeah, and they're doing it like they're like incels getting. It's so weird. Like vegan.
Yeah, dude.
Didn't vegan gains get a vasectomy before he had ever even met his husband? Like, I mean, he never.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, like he got his vasectomy, like, and he was. I don't know. This might not be true, but I'm pretty damn sure he got his vasectomy before he even met his partner or whatever. So yeah, that's fucking crazy. That's insane.
Yeah, so they end up getting vasectomies for no reason in reality. And then there's again you see a lot of vegans going to the endurance sports route. You've seen this. A lot of people are, I'm a runner now. I want to be light and lean. Well, you can't compete in the realm of the gym or gaining weight, so you know that you have to go another route, and it feels better because now you can subconsciously shift away. And that's exactly what I did. The gym wasn't working for me anymore. So I said, you know what? I'm going to be a cyclist. So I I got a nice bicycle and I enjoyed that for a while. But I started getting injuries along the way that would not heal. This is another thing that vegans don't talk about. And I have had the privilege of speaking with a lot of high profile vegans behind closed doors. I can't name names right now, but some are basically experimenting, let's just say that, and also talking about their issues.
A lot of them are, and they're not talking about it publicly. Not very few of them talk about it publicly.
Exactly. So you have a lot of people curious, experimenting, and having a lot of the same issues. I'd say digestive issues are 50%. It's a pandemic, 50% wide in the vegan community. That's my own number. I made that up. But I know a lot of vegans. It's funny to me that there's so many keyboard warrior vegans on YouTube that message me in my videos, and they don't know another vegan in real life. They're like sitting in Midwest Ohio, and they don't know another vegan within 100 square miles. And I moved to Hawaii, and I'm living with vegans like side by side, dozens of them, and they're telling me that I don't know, what it takes. Like I know people that grow food. We're eating the food off the land. We're eating fresh fruits and vegetables grown right there on the land. Like I had a lychee tree in my front yard and I'm eating lychees off these people have no idea what they're talking about. Anyway,
Sorry, I was muted there. I always think that's an interesting thing, and I don't want to get too diverted into this, but the living off of land as a vegan thing, how do you feel about that now? Because it's like, I mean, myself coming to Ecuador back in 2010, Before that, we were dabbling with the vegan thing, and I always thought, man, this is kind of ridiculous. I always thought it was Monsanto's wet dream, like having a vegan world, right? Because like no one's gonna produce enough food to feed themselves as a freaking vegan. Now, look, he's not bald, guys. He's not bald yet. Give it some time, man. You will be bald soon, or voluntarily almost bald, like me. I just shave it.
I
But
had to take my hat off for that. So anybody who wanted to say that,
he's virtue signaling his beautiful hair. So yeah, like, what do you think about that? Like, can you live off the land as a vegan, even in Hawaii?
so this is something that this is hilarious. I want everybody to listen to this closely. Living off the land as a vegan is close to impossible. Whatever you want to call that. Like,
Drew, you broke. Okay, I'm so sorry. My internet cut out. I don't know if the audience
Okay.
caught it, but living off the land as a vegan is almost impossible, and then it cut out for a second. Please repeat.
so living off the land as a vegan is almost impossible, and living off the land as a vegan previous to the farming area is 1,000% impossible. Like, the amount of effort you have to work for to produce food on your land, especially the variety of food you need with all the nutrients and minerals, like all the protein you need, it's just not going to happen. It's impossible. So I know people with acres and acres of land that actively work on their farm every single day, and they still can't produce enough of everything to keep themselves satisfied. Like, they're still shopping in town for half their calories, you know? And it is what it is, and that's never been their goal to like be totally self-sufficient. But imagine being a hunter-gatherer and trying to actually find randomly fruits and vegetables to survive on. Forget it. Like, there's vegans wasting away right now that have unlimited money that can't even sustain their own muscle mass or body weight from grocery store produced food that's in unlimited abundance. They can't even eat enough food. So how are you going to possibly do that? How are you possibly going to do that when you don't have that availability?
Yeah, that's very well said. I definitely agree. Nearly impossible. I would say it is impossible. You know, but
It's impossible.
I mean, someone's gonna come up with some anecdote. Oh, this person did it. But yeah, I know quite a few people who are trying to do this vegan permaculture stuff and think that they're gonna somehow live off the land, but it just doesn't end up working out. Cool. So you're living in Hawaii. You're eating all kinds of fruit, digestive issues. What else did you start to see?
So I would have been working out at that point, making very little gains. I jumped back on the protein powder and the soy milk because I knew protein powder and soy milk as a combination helped me out before and made me feel a little stronger. So indeed, it helped. I started gaining some weight. I started gaining some muscle mass. It was obvious and visible that my performance increased. Also, the scale was going up, and I wasn't gaining body fat. So I ended up shooting up from about 135 starting weight to about 143 in like 6 months, which is still really slow. But I got up to 143. I was pretty lean, pretty chiseled. I was looking pretty good. I was only working out from home. So I was like, okay, these are maybe the results to be expected. I was feeling relatively strong, certainly stronger than I was at 135. And then the gains basically just completely stopped. And then from that point, I realized I was going to have to up the protein and up the fats probably, because I was so sick of, this is around the time my digestion started going bad again after eating the whole foods plant-based stuff. So as I got away from whole foods plant-based, and that's not to say that my digestion was absolutely perfect during that whole foods plant-based era. It was just markedly better, because definitely one wrong meal could set you off, where you eat too many beans and too many potatoes together, and all of a sudden the next day you have gas for like 8 hours straight from the moment you wake up till mid-afternoon. You know, that happened all the time. So there I am, about 143 pounds. I couldn't make any more gains. I started chomping on the peanut butter, and I start adding in, I think I started adding in like chia seeds and stuff at this point. And then my digestion was just like all over the place at that point. I turned to the processed vegan foods, and yeah.
So why'd you turn to processed vegan foods? You felt like it was too difficult to maintain the caloric intake that you wanted to try and make gains?
100%. Yeah, I couldn't really make any more. I couldn't eat physically enough calories from whole foods to actually make any type of gains. Like my stomach capacity as a human being was physically maxed out. Like I couldn't process any more of that food. I also want to point out that the juice fasting I did almost nothing, almost nothing for me in terms of digestive healing that was basically promised, because a lot of these guys talk about you do a juice fast and then all of a sudden your absorption levels are like 10 times what they were before the juice fast. This is like fairy tale hocus pocus. You know, you know who I'm talking about, these juice fasting gurus online that are talking about this stuff, making all kinds of promises that just absolutely don't come to fruition. And then what you see in their comment section is people who are like these sad failed disciples that keep coming back and they're like, oh, I failed again, I'm going to try again next week. It's like,
I just did it wrong this time. I just have to figure out the one silver bullet next time. I got to get the Dan the Man Life Regenerator enzymes. I got to buy the special $100 bottle of Health Force protein powder that's 100% hemp, because perhaps that one's more healthy. Or I've got to just fast a little bit more because my sinful flesh, if I fast enough, maybe there will be no sinful flesh left to desire all this animal flesh. I mean, it's just, it becomes so absurd. It goes so far.
Well, I did the John Rose protocol, 30 days. I actually was really active in his threads in the early days of his channel when he was like 1,000 subscribers. And I actually created a guide, because throughout all his videos, he's so all over the place and incoherent that people actually don't even know what his protocol is. So over the course of like 30 videos that I watch, I actually put together a spreadsheet where I put it all in one place, and people were using that protocol and actually connecting me to the John Rose fasting protocol. Like in Hawaii, I met countless people that came up to me and were like, "Oh, dude, juice fasting, I seen you in John Rose's videos. Like, what do you think? I'm gonna embark on a 30-day juice fast soon. What do you think?" And I'm like, "Don't do it." Like, and this was before I went to the meat. I said I didn't believe in that stuff for a long time. I was like, man, it's not going to do what you are hoping it does. You know, maybe like a 7-day juice fast, like if you've never done one before, just to test it out. Like, I get the curiosity, but I've actually had people with the audacity to say that my 30-day juice fast just wasn't long enough, and everybody who goes the distance gets the results. So how do you know what the distance is? Because I personally know a woman in Hawaii who's gotten great results from this, by the way, but she was morbid. She was obese. She's been on a juice fast for 6 months. So how come after 6 months she hasn't pooped out this serpent that John Rose says is going to come out of you? Like, how long does she need to fast in order to actually get out this hidden fecal matter? Like, that is bogus lies to me, in my opinion. I have no problem calling that out online publicly.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of shillery going on there. There's a lot of silliness. I think one of the most important points you made so far that I really enjoyed was most vegans that you see trolling online. You've seen a few of them here in the comments section. I usually ban them right away. Sometimes I let them play for a bit, and then I send them to timeout. But most of these people don't have a single vegan friend in real life. Yet online, they're advocating for the genocide of all meat eaters because, you know, their morally, objectively superior position will dictate that, you know, we need to do this. We need to get rid of all meat eaters and stop the suffering, stop the genocide, stop the killing of all these poor innocent animals. You know, I mean, it's a funny world and it's a funny mind state. Would you have considered yourself kind of like, you know, that activist, online activist type? You know, you mentioned that I banned you from my channel. Sometimes I ban people for like not even being straight up shill. Sometimes people just come on, they're subtle shilling, and I'm just like, get out of here. Like, I don't want to deal with you later, and I know you're gonna dislike all my videos anyway, so you're banned. Why did I ban you from my channel? And also, if we could tie this in with, you know, the internet activism part of the vegan movement that you experienced as well, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
So I never consider myself any type of activist. For me, I've always been involved with diet and fitness truthism. Like, I just want to know the truth. I don't really care what ideology it's tied to. Now, don't get me wrong. I did think that the nice story tied to being a vegan sounds good. Like, of course, I don't want to kill animals if I don't have to. And I've always said that. I've always said, if it's proven to me that I need to eat animals for optimal health, then I'm just going to go right back to eating animals. Now, that being said, I trolled your channel in the early days. You had on a guest, I believe his name was like Dark Lord or something like that. The really ripped Mexican dude who was like working out. And
That's Luis Villasenor. Yeah, Luis, he's been doing keto for like, it must be like 17 years now. He's really
wow.
jacked. He looks like he's on steroids, but he's
Yeah.
like 5'6", so that's why
Okay.
he's so jacked.
So okay, that I didn't know that actually. So
Yeah, he looks like he's on the juice, but I can say I believe that the man is an honest man, and he's a natty.
Hey, no comment. I really don't even remember how big he was, but I was calling him out at that time because everybody on the internet was on steroids according to Durian Ryder, and I just from the information that I learned at that time about veganism, how beneficial it was for arterial health and heart health, and then what you were preaching was the polar opposite. And I'm just like, and I think you were actually pretty new to the movement at the time, right? Like about 5 years ago, you were
that was like in the first few months of me putting out content and interviewing him. So yeah, that was
right.
Must have been 2014 or 15.
Yeah, and you and I were both in the same boat as far as where we started. You were just putting out content early on, and I was like, I couldn't vibe with it. I didn't see the results coming yet, and also I thought that this guy was just totally on steroids promoting his ketogenic diet, and I'm like, this is like that is like veganism now, where all these vegan bodybuilders are jacked up on the juice because they're coming over from mainstream bodybuilding and they want to cash in on the vegan movement. And so now they're saying, "Oh, well, by the way, I'm vegan." And it's like, okay, well, who cares? We have IFBB pros now that are publicly stating, Jason Azari, I think is his name, really, really nice guy, really buff guy, but he started out fruitarian bodybuilder. We're talking IFBB pro. The guy's like 260 pounds or something like that. I mean, jacked from head to toe, and he openly admits that he's on steroids. Which I applaud him for, which in that league, it's obvious everybody's on steroids. But it's even interesting that him, even with steroids, had to move away from the fruitarian side of things. And now he's eating just a more like maxing out the calories bodybuilding diet because he probably wasn't getting the nutrition or whatever on the fruitarian side of things, even with the help of steroids. That's the point I want to make.
Well, I think that's a really interesting point because, yeah, you're right. In 2014, 2015, there was this rash of people, and Durian Ryder was the main guy, right? He was telling everyone's on the juice. They're all on the juice, all on the steroids, mate.
And he's on steroids, by the way, and he's on steroids.
And now he admits that he's the one who's on fucking steroids. That's the funniest thing to me is it came full circle. And, it just shows you the inanity and kind of the mental illness that's really prevalent in this, and it's the online community, right? Like, I'm sure there's plenty of vegans in the real world who maybe have vegan friends who do their own thing, grow some food, eat their vegan food, move on with their lives. Maybe some of them even having kids. Hope not. Not that vegans don't deserve kids, but I hope that they're not forcing their vegan ideology on their kids because I've seen what it does. But
same.
Yeah, these online activist communities it's so wackadoodle. Cool. So a little bit of history there. Why I banned you from the channel. I'm crazy with the ban hammer here. I'm hungry I don't see enough trolls in the chat right now. I'd ban someone right now just for fun. But
I don't get too many trolls. It's I think if it depends all on how people approach the message. I've had personal friends actually in Hawaii have more issue with what I'm doing than the online community, because I think the online community knows me as one persona, which is like I come to YouTube once I have a polished vision of what I'm going to say, which is like I've tried it out for a while and then I'm reporting on it. Whereas like in real time, people see me jump on the carnivore and like from day one, I'm like promoting it. Like I'm all excited on it. So they're like, Drew's promoting this stuff, and I'm like, man, I'm not here to say this is the best thing right away. It took me 4.5 years to jump off the vegan bandwagon. I'm not going to claim I'm an expert in 40 days on the meat, but I can tell you that X, Y, and Z are significantly better. So,
all right. So going back to the journey here.
Sure.
4 years down the line, you've gone through whole foods plant-based diet, playing around with a little fruitarianism. So I guess the vegans might say, oh, well, that's the problem. He did fruitarianism. If he had just listened to Dr. Greger, His Holiness, the Dalai Greger, if he had just listen to the Anointed One, the Gregor, the great Gregino, he would be fine. So I mean, what would you say to that critique?
I would say refer to your video where Gregor's sitting next to a 9-year-old girl getting out angled, and that will answer all the questions you need to know about whether or not that's your pillar of health. But I think that I'm not going to talk about his cherry picking of studies. Like I don't really like the whole study debate because I feel like there's really good science-based evidence on both sides. And I'm sure if you dig deep enough, you can see who's funding whatever study, or you can nitpick one little thing that completely negates that study. I think at this point we have enough people trying this stuff long term. We can start to compare the real life results. So Dr. Greger says to eat whole foods plant-based. I tried whole foods plant-based. It didn't work for me. It gave me the best digestion out of the 4.5 years I was vegan, but it gave me absolutely no results. Like I had medium levels of energy because I couldn't get in enough actual physical calories. I had little to no athletic performance ability. And a lot of people don't realize, like, when you're eating this such calorie dilute food, your whole day becomes about eating. It becomes about buying, preparing, eating, and digesting this food. It's like this endless cycle. Like from the moment you wake up, you're juicing oranges for an hour, then you're drinking the orange juice for an hour, then you're peeing out the orange juice for another hour. Now it's time for lunch. Now you got to go buy all this food. It is a full-time job. You truly feel like a gorilla that's sitting in the forest just like munching leaves all day. And I mean, some people might choose that lifestyle even if they knew what was coming to them. But for the majority of human beings that need to like work a real job and actually function in society, which is valuable, by the way, a lot of vegans do want to check out of society, which I disagree with. And that's part of the reason why I'm back in California. That takes us to our current day situation. But you need to have sustained energy and power to be able to like actually kick ass in this world. And drinking smoothies all day while you're a construction worker is just not gonna pay off,
Have you ever met a vegan that does manual labor?
Other than farming, no. And even my 65-year-old landlord.
Come on, growing a couple pot plants is not farming.
In Hawaii, we had a landlord that lived on our property. So she was 65 years old. Actually, recently she was getting pretty sick, but I'll cut that part out of the story. Before that, she was extremely capable and strong, and actually like if you needed to move furniture, this woman could like help you full on lift a couch and move it out of the house, no problem. And she knew we were vegans living in the house, and she applauded it and everything. But she's like, yeah, when I'm out there working trade with other people, doing farming on other people's land, like I need that power, I really need that. Like even she knew, and she grew up in France, coincidentally, and she actually knew that she needed the meat and heavier, denser foods to perform that manual labor job, even for herself. And she has no like real knowledge of nutrition,
That's funny. A lot of people have their own anecdotal experiences with these type of things. I think that's really interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've never met anybody who does manual labor, who does a vegan.
Yeah, a vegan construction worker. Give me a break. It's not going to happen.
Right. I mean, you spend 6 hours out of your day doing all this stuff. But you're right. The wanting to check out of society too. The kind of like, I'm gonna be a digital nomad. I'm gonna promote veganism, and I can go anywhere, and I just make some vegan videos. And Durian Rider promoted that back in the day. Remember, he was telling everyone, come out to Thailand, join my vegan cult. We all make videos together, mate. Get vasectomies, right. And yeah, it's a funny thing because there's really not support for them. Once they start to go down that route, they might find a few friends who might agree with them ideologically or be able to, have some roommates and stuff. But, I think they're really, people are missing on the community aspect of life, and they kind of end up rejecting friends and families quite a bit. How did you find that?
Well, sorry, go ahead.
I want to hear your point, man.
I wanted to throw out that I saw my boy Ted Carr from Fruit Living made a video today regarding why people are going from vegan to eating meat again. And he points out that a lot of the vegans don't have enough community. And in order to, and I plan to make a formal response to this because I am friends with Ted in real life, but I don't agree with him on almost 100% of diet and nutrition advice. But he says that a lot of vegans are jumping off the vegan bandwagon because they don't have enough community. And in my experience, that's the opposite. I mean, I lived in a house with all vegans for over 2 years in Hawaii in a community of all vegans. I was one of the first ones to actually defect to the meat, but I'm taking a lot of people with me. You know, I'm reaching out to people and privately, and they're talking to me, and it's like we have all the community in the world. The reality is that we are a sounding board for each other, and when somebody has an issue, they talk about it publicly in our little community in Hawaii, and it's pretty normal to be like at a potluck talking about like your digestion or like how are you feeling, how's your skin lately, you know, stuff like that. And this is why I wanted to be around these people. But once I realized that almost everybody was having issues, you know, I started reaching out to those people, and here we are today, you know. And so somebody like Ted, who's saying he lives in Canada with almost no community of vegans.
Yeah, he's got a community of little of ladies that he has fast for like 60 days at a time, right? He has his own little. He's got Ted. He's like the white nature boy, right?
Oh shit, nature boy, baby.
Ted's the white melanation. Ted's got white bitches that he starves on mango diets and then bangs them. Dude, this whole thing is crazy, dude. This whole like the vegan community and these little cults that are shooting up. And yeah, like I throw some shots out of that Ted guy there, but it's like, dude, some of these people are fucking demented. Like the way that they're and bringing. Dude, this guy's girlfriend, Ted Carr's girlfriend's got like a 9-year-old child that they drag around all these vegan festivals and fucking who knows what's going on at these little touchy-feely vegan fests with these people. But I just think it's sad to see like what happens to some of these communities once they become malnourished. Like a lot of these fools are going full on nature boy. What do you think about Nature Boy? You there was a reaction to the Nature Boy comment there.
I love Nature Boy, man. There's a couple
reflections.
I love Reflection. What's up, Reflection? There's a couple people that are like so out there on YouTube that I can't help but love them. Dan McDonald, I love that guy. I don't care how crazy he is. Nature Boy, yo, Nature, dude, their community is kind of scary though. Like I was watching their videos recently.
Reflection.
And, whoa, they look dangerous, man. Like I don't know what they're up to, but their little squad that they got going on. And then I saw a video recently with just their women, like in the kitchen talking and stuff like that. And I'm like, man, like this is like some reverting to ancient times, but like you can tell that they don't like it. Like it's just like the vegan thing where
you can see the divide. You can see you can see the suffering. And that's what's really sad is when you see the suffering going on. And it's like, oh, I fasted for 30 days. I feel amazing now. Here, I'm going to cry while I eat my watermelon. It's just like, dude, you have fucking children, and you're acting like a fucking 15-year-old, you know, to me, it's so sad to see people regress like this and to be led into these really, like, silly practices, you know, 20 enemas a day and 30 bananas a day and, you know, and thinking that it's somehow going to make us enlightened, you know, and I think it's so dangerous for these people to get into this stuff. You see these videos of, like, these fruit festivals and stuff like that, and all these, you know, there are always these cute edits, and it's got to have like that one, you know, that one song that's on every commercial for like whatever product they're trying to market to like beta male soy boys, and it's like do 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 do, and there's a little bit of like a ukulele.
It's like a stock YouTube song.
Yeah, and you know, it's like you see all these edits of the fruit festivals, and they're rapping at the fruit festivals. Oh, go open my third eye, swimming through the ocean, looking for Moby Dick, but I don't eat whales because I only eat celery sticks. Or like, it's like these people. It's that was all off the head, yo. None of that shit's good. Written.
Well,
Get at me, Capitol Records. But it's like it's crazy to see this stuff. I mean, did you go to any of these festivals and stuff like that?
I never been to an actual festival like that, like Woodstock or whatever. But I do want to say, you know, Vegan Gains always used to use that KRS-One rap outro, "Beef, what a relief," and they don't really understand that when you go to the carnivore side. I say that all the time. I'm like, beef, what a relief, for real, because when you eat that beef, you're like actually relieved. Like, oh my God, my stomach isn't exploding right now. I feel good. I have sustained energy. What do you know? You know. it is a relief. I can't wait to maybe I'll drop a remix diss track.
Beef is a relief.
Beef, what a relief.
If
So
you, if
no
you only
vegan.
eat meat, your colon will get a treat.
That's a double entendre. John Rose will
Because
have
you
to.
won't be sitting down 30 times on the damn toilet seat.
Let's see. Oh, so yeah, I didn't go to any vegan festivals, but I know all about them. Yeah, I know all about the they're basically just people dancing around, listening. I say it's like standing around listening to kumbaya music with people playing acoustic guitar and just singing around, and it's a lot of just lofting around. Like if you just like
people want connections, people trying to connect, right? People trying to feel like,
oh, yeah.
hey, like let's feel alive. And
right.
I mean, it always ends up looking like those like Protestant Christian youth camps and stuff like that. These vegan events where you're like, oh, it's rave time. Like, let's have our sober rave with like a little bit of MDMA on the down low, guys. It's like it's just like this funny communities that try to act like they're wholesome, but a lot of them are totally full of predators too.
100%.
What do you think about this, dude? Something that I've noticed, there's a lot of like and I'm not talking about like overt predators or like, pedophiles and shit like that probably goes on, but I'm talking like just like predatory beta male incels who found veganism and promoting veganism as a way to like, go from incel to orgy. It's like I really see quite a bit of that. I mean, like, come on, Durian Ryder. You think that guy? Yeah. I mean, he makes his whole living making softcore porn videos now with this chick.
I know. She's way hot, by the way.
Freely the Banana Girl back in the day. Like, that was his whole thing, was all about getting the chicks. And what do you think? I mean, have you noticed this predatory aspect to it, or am I blowing it out of proportion?
I think there's like a couple people that are definitely fitting that role, but I'd say overall the people that it draws in are more of the like super beta, non confrontational, non competitive type guy to begin with, and then he goes on the vegan diet, and then it makes him even more removed from that, because when you're like on raw, you're so at the mercy of other people's like compassion, because you are weaker, so that's the difference, is you don't have the ability to fight back, so you have to naturally be a little bit more submissive. And I have brought this up that the vegans are more apt to be polyamorous because they basically have to be, because the women are not satisfied with just one of these guys. So they do, in fact, like want multiple of these men, because like just one of them isn't going to really do the manly things that are going to really like turn them on and make them really attracted to that one guy.
That's interesting. So you're a bunch of broken betas, incels who basically found ways to get their dinghy wet, and
yes, yeah,
and unfortunately their little flaccid banana driven dinghies maybe aren't doing the job. That's an interesting theory. I think a lot of these maybe it attracts some of these people too, because they see that it's a community filled with weakness, right? They see that it's a community filled with people who are psychologically, spiritually, mentally, physically vulnerable. And
they're open. They're open exactly. Regardless of whether it's vulnerable or whether it's they're just very open-minded. They're willing. If you have people that are trying to seek the truth in anything, that leaves the room for somebody who knows how to capitalize on that mindset to take advantage. Does that make sense?
And that's why the whole. Well, yeah. I mean, and there's so many. That's a very, very good point. And it's something you see in like the. You mentioned like you came to this because you wanted truth. You wanted the truth about nutrition. I remember back in the day, like after the 9/11 truth movement, which is no more, because no one gives a shit anymore about real truth. Everyone wants to argue about fake politics. But that, even like when you looked at those communities, those like online communities, and even before the internet, the the kind of like alternative history, revisionist history, stuff like that, conspiracy culture that people talk about. A lot of that's really full of a lot of people recruiting from like esoteric organizations and Freemasonry as well. It's like the whole act of wanting to seek truth. You're basically admitting, I'm open to other ideas, and at the same time, there's a vulnerability there to deception. So I think a lot of these beta individuals end up coming to a vegan diet and then mapping out the territory, because I mean, just like in elementary school, middle school, high school, college, humans are humans, and we tend to group up with people. It's like men, I mean, think of like, single young men. They tend to get together into roaming gangs that are basically seeking chicks, right? Like when you're in high school, like you want a group of dudes, but it's not really so much that you want to hang out with these dudes. You're kind of like, you're looking for guys who know the same games you know. So when you go out to the bars, you go out to the
Your
parties,
wingman.
you've got your plan where we're going to find some girls, or we're going to, we're trying to, corner these girls, or this is what we want. So I think that same energy just ends up transferring into the whole vegan world, and you get a lot of these betas who've never, connected with themselves, who have no real strength or power, and they end up just figuring out, shit, there's a lot of vulnerable women here that are, ripe for the picking, and they end up, doing lots of retreats and massage heavy fruit fest and stuff like that to kind of get that aspect of it. But but we can move on. We don't have to talk about that for too long unless you got more points to make on it.
I would just say that fundamentally, as it stands right now, the vegan movement, I'd say, is easily 70-30 women to men ratio. So in that aspect, yeah, there's a lot more women in the movement than there are men. So the guy, sometimes that attracts guys who maybe feel like it's going to be easy pickings because there's so many women. And as long as I have the vegan tag behind me, then I can get in with this group. I mean, I guess that's a theory, but it doesn't automatically gain you access to, hooking up with these women. Although
if you figure out some things, like the thing is, a human consciousness, we're clever creatures. Even if we're malnourished, people figure shit out, and they do it unconsciously as well. So you slide in there and you start to figure out, if you use these words, it's like when you're 17, 18 years old, you start to figure out NLP without ever studying NLP. Right, but then these losers, they go and they go study it deeper, and they're just like, like I'm gonna use this NLP, to get these women more vulnerable and maybe turned on. It's like, it's the same thing that happens in the vegan community. They start to figure shit out, and they figure out their angle. But yeah, I mean that's probably one of the lesser important aspects of the vegangelical religion, but I do find it interesting, and I do think there are some predators in that movement, and you can see there's always rape accusations flying around the vegan movements for whatever reason, and I don't think it's just coincidental that these same people promoting veganism are always involved in these weird sketchy situations.
Oh no, there's definitely some very aggressive vegan dudes out there that are known for it, but I don't know. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that, I guess.
Hashtag vegan me too. We're starting it here, guys. All right. So 4.5 years. I mean, what made you start to question it? I mean, did you feel guilty when you started feeling the desire to kind of pull away from the veganism, when you wanted to pull back from it? What was the downward spiral that led you back into munching meat?
Downward spiral was watching Vegetable Police, who's been a little puny boy of a man for the last 4 years on YouTube, actually start to make some muscular gains once he switched over to carnivore. And I was like, oh my God, like this guy's making gains now. And I was struggling to make gains because I actually got up to about 156 pounds as a vegan. So I was gaining weight, but it was way more fat to muscle ratio than I had been used to in the past, because the protein just wasn't getting to the muscle or whatever was going on. And I was gaining way more fat to actual performance ratio. And this guy over here is actually starting to look pretty decent. And yeah, exactly. These guys are all saying, yeah, VP is looking good these days. So he starts talking about carnivore. And then the thing that sealed the deal for me was him talking about how he had no digestive discomfort. And I had been struggling for months at this point with just basically having gas for like 8 to 12 hours a day, from eating so many beans, so many lentils, so much protein powder, so much peanuts. And yeah, just like dealing with constant chronic gas. And also my energy levels were just so low. I just don't think I was absorbing any of my food. I was back to drinking a coffee and a Monster every single day just to like kind of stay afloat. I love my energy drinks, but it's like I shouldn't feel 100% necessary, you know? So no, I didn't feel guilty.
So basically, I mean that's cool that you're honest about it. Gain envy. Gain envy was what.
It's just like people. Here's what I say: is like if you cannot gain muscle mass, why do you think that your brain and your connective tissue and all this other stuff is going to heal on its own? If you can't even forcibly gain a little bit of bicep meat, why do you think your brain, which is made out of that same stuff, basically, is going to be at its optimal health? Like, I'm not talking about gain envy, like I want to be a professional bodybuilder, but it's like if you can't even make gains at all, then
you spent
something's
4.5
wrong.
years trying to make some gains. You felt yourself getting pudgier and not feeling as good.
Yeah.
And you see vegan gains, or not vegan gains, sorry, vegetable police stealing vegan gains as gains. Those vegan gains get fatter and more depressed, more angry, more grayish, green looking. Suddenly, vegetable police comes out. It's like, dude, I ate some meat, and suddenly his shoulders look rounder, and he gets bigger.
Yeah, exactly. It's all in the shoulders. You can see it. I have a theory here. I just want to throw this out. This is unrelated. In vegans, I'm telling you, because I have a theory that shoulder and traps are more hormonal related than any other part of the body. And when you see even vegan bodybuilders that have a decent amount of muscle mass, their shoulders here and their traps are usually very underdeveloped. I don't know if that's a hormonal issue or what, but as soon as people start to get on the meat and they're taking like the proper, the proper diet for us, you can see these muscles start to develop again. And it's almost a trademark difference between vegan lifters and meat eating lifters, even the ones that have some muscle. But
there's a lot of androgen. Sorry to interrupt. It's not even like a theory, dude. There's androgen receptors all throughout the shoulders. So it's like you've got androgen receptors all around there, and that's why when you deadlift, it increases your testosterone levels too. Nice. So, vegetable police said I'm eating the meat. I'm on the beef cleanse. Fucking
the beef
dog.
cleanse.
Look at this dog behind me. He's got a bone on the bed.
Ribeye?
Look at this guy.
Ribeye.
So you got
He's so
Ribeye
cute.
here. He's made some gains the last couple weeks. Ribeye's definitely made gains. Your breath smells like fish. You're gross, but you're so cute. He was 4 pounds when we got him, and I think he's probably 22 pounds now.
Yeah, he's gonna be a good little dog.
He's so big.
Yeah.
He's not allowed to bring these bones in the house, but he does it anyway. So, all right.
I'll bring in my dog at the end.
Good.
You'll see.
Vegetable police. Getting those gains, and you're like, damn, all right, maybe this vegan thing isn't working. Maybe I'm not still healing. Maybe I'm not still detoxing. And
so
then what?
I got a couple other poignant things. So I had muscle tears in my pec, and also I told you cycling, I got a muscle tear in my hamstring that never healed. My chest pec didn't heal in over 9 months just from doing, flies and stuff like that. Pretty gentle stuff. And it didn't heal. And also I was having libido issues towards the end, just being less horny in general. And also like I had the experience. Let me just get into story time with your audience here. I had Drew Morgan.
You got to do it in
Let me
that
tell you.
sultry voice where you come all close to the microphone when you talk about the
Drew
libido
Morgan.
issues.
Let me tell you one thing about Drew Morgan. He performs when the time comes, okay? And recently, I had a situation with another vegan chick actually that I met on Tinder, and let's just say I was
her name and address?
flatlined.
Go ahead and throw out her name and address, dude.
Okay, Susie Q. I was flatlined, man. Like I couldn't do anything. Desire was there, and just like none downstairs, or. Yeah, exactly. I was into it. I was into her, and I couldn't do anything. And I had to laugh off the situation. I'm 33 now. I can handle a little bit of embarrassing bedtime stuff, especially at this point in my career. But it got me thinking moving forward. Like that was the first time I really noticed anything like that. Because I can say a year ago it definitely wasn't like that. But
So maybe it was just temporary, though. The vegans would say maybe you just didn't sleep that well the day before.
Something like
maybe there was a picture of His Holiness the Dalai Gregor somewhere in the room, and that the icon of Dr. Gregor can steal your libido because he is so powerful that he can pull it from you. So that could be a scientific explanation too.
Yep, exactly. So I just couldn't perform. I kind of laughed it off. She was like, okay, well, we won't get into that. And then
was she pissed? What happened?
She was like very into it. Let's just say that. Like she tried to make it happen a few times, and it wasn't going to happen. So
Damn.
I applaud her effort. But yeah, that ended that. And then, so moving forward, I noticed that, there was just definitely less libido, less attraction, less like just horniness. I wasn't getting any type of like night wood or anything like that. When you wake up in the middle of the night to pee and you usually got to wait a couple minutes before you can actually use your dinghy because it's like, it's in a different position.
Yeah. So the testosterone was clearly going down. Did you ever test your test levels or anything like that?
I did not, but I did test them 2 years into veganism, and I will say they were pretty good. They were actually in the 70th or 80th percentile, which is, and I was on a high carb, very low fat vegan diet at that time.
Nice. So your testosterone didn't really take a hit until maybe later, it seems.
Right. Yeah. So my theory is that about 4 to 5 years in, this is when I see vegans hit that wall, the freaking wall, man. 4 to 5 years in, almost everybody who's going to bounce leaves at that point because there's got to be some sort of hormonal change that happens where whatever it is that you have left over, it just can't keep up anymore.
Why do you think 4 to 5 years? What do you think's going on there?
I mean, it's probably a vitamin and mineral storage issue where some vitamins and minerals that you had left over in your liver or wherever your body store them is no longer able to be used for whatever function. Like most vegans don't even realize that eating a lot of sugar requires more vitamin C and more magnesium, and a lot of vegans are magnesium deficient. So what happens is you start seeing a lot of vegans start to supplement with things. So, if you're willing to go the unnatural route and supplement, that's fine. But you got to basically become a pharmacologist because now you're studying these level 2, level 3, level 4 nutrients in your body, and you're trying to like play God there and actually feed yourself via micro elements what you really need. That's like, I don't have time for that, dude. I don't want to live that lifestyle where I'm constantly finding the new element that I'm now missing, and I have to take it in pill format.
Yeah, the supplementation thing is kind of annoying, huh? And then, how much money were you spending on supplements? What were you supplementing?
I refuse to supplement.
What
Only
about
thing
B12?
I would even B12, I've taken that over the years, so I know I wasn't B12 deficient, but I probably was like starting to get magnesium deficient or something like that, Because also the other thing too is the vegans that I know that say they have good digestion, they are chronic supplementers, so they take a lot of magnesium. They take a lot of this stuff that aids in digestion. It's like, okay, cool, oh, you're able to gain muscle mass. How are you doing that as a vegan? Oh, I take steroids. Fix the problem. No, that doesn't fix the problem, something is going wrong there.
So did you jump right into like carnivory?
Dude, I went from full vegan to a pound of ground beef and 4 eggs for dinner.
Nice. Just one meal?
And I felt one meal for dinner, and then I felt perfectly fine. I couldn't believe how good my digestion was that first night. And I told this story on my channel. I had a just raging erection that same night. 4 a.m. I was woken up out of my sleep, and my skin was in pain down there. And I was so ecstatic because I knew that had to be a sign that things were moving in the right direction.
Pitching a tent.
Yeah, it just pitching a tent. I mean, simple things like that let you know that your body is just working how you're accustomed to it. Since you're a little kid, you're like you know your body. People like don't. That's the thing that pisses me off about the vegan diet is everything. They tell you everything is counterintuitive. It's like, no, it doesn't have to be counterintuitive. Why do you have to suffer before it gets better? And it never gets better. That's like the mantra of the vegan movement. Like, starve yourself first, and you'll rebuild stronger than ever. It's like, nah, you won't. You will just be weaker than ever.
Right. Yeah. No. That's so. All right. So within one meal, you started feeling better. One meal.
That's no exaggeration. I will stamp my life on that.
And it's not. What about it's placebo effect, man? It's just placebo. You saw.
I was asleep.
Vegetable police. He placeboed you.
I was asleep, man. What better scientific evidence do you need than I was dead asleep, 4 a.m., boom, rock hard, out of sleep boner. Like, I hadn't had a sex dream in weeks or months at that point, which is also another thing that I realized was going on, because that's how you know you're a horny dude, when you're having sex dreams all the time. And in my experience, that's was a common thing. So for that to be like dipping down really heavily, where I'm like, huh, and Another thing too is cognitive function, man. I know a lot of vegans that are having issues cognitively, and that wasn't something I started to experience until recently, because normally when I speak, like my words kind of just flow out of my mouth. I don't lose that word that I'm looking for at the tip of my tongue like a lot of people do. And I thought it was like a smoking weed thing. So I actually stopped smoking for months, and I didn't get back the cognition that I thought I would get back. And I will say, like, I haven't even had breakfast today, and I feel energized. Of course, I had a cup of coffee. People are going to say, "Oh, you're on caffeine." I had one cold cup of coffee.
Drug.
But
It's a drug. You're on that
yeah, it's
drug
because I'm
caffeine.
used to Hawaii time, and it's I got out of I had to wake up for this, and it was a little bit earlier than I thought it would be. But anyway, so cognitively, people are struggling. And yeah, those are the last things. And I will say that as soon as I started eating the meat, I noticed a big difference on all those things: the sexual drive, the cognition, especially once I got fat adapted, which I think was about 7 days in. I hit ketosis because I had a terrible day, and then after that is it's been really smooth sailing, man. Like I'm really digging it.
So a little bit of keto flu the first couple of days, and then the 7th day you felt better, and you get hunger throughout the day. You get energy lulls at all, or do you have steady energy? How's everything working?
Super steady energy, super steady mental cognition. My physical abilities are way better. I within the first 30 days, so I'm doing a calisthenic routine where I'm just kind of doing a home gym calisthenic routine. It's a challenge that I wanted to give myself when I got to Hawaii, was to build a sort of athletic body from home. So I was stuck at like 8 or 9 pull-up reps. That's nothing. I've done way more than that in the past. But as a vegan, I was gaining weight, and I couldn't outpace my pull-up reps. So I was stuck at 155 pounds at 9 reps. As soon as I jumped on the carnivore, I lost 5 pounds the first week, and I also picked up 5 max reps to my pull-ups. 5.
Wow, so your overall strength
month.
Increasing dramatically, right? Because even if you stayed the same, yeah, that's really good, man.
So I tested it. So I knew people were going to say, "Oh, you're just gaining reps because you lost body weight."
Yeah.
Fair enough, but I got you guys beat because I took a 10-pounder, I put it in my backpack, I weighed more than I did as a vegan with the backpack on, and I cranked out 11 and a half reps. So I even put on 2.5, like almost 3 full reps in 30 days at the original body weight.
There you go.
Actually, more than the original body weight. So there's no way. I lost weight and I gained strength. That's undeniable. That's measurable.
Dude, that's awesome. So increased strength, increased libido, mental cognitive function.
Yep. Digestion. Wow.
Digestion.
Baby. The digestion
What's the difference?
is so much better. Like,
how so?
When you eat a meal, assuming you don't forcibly stuff yourself, which nobody does that doing this, because you get that signal that you're just done, and that's like your last bite, and then you're just like, I'm done. Now, I will say this: I haven't been able to gain back weight yet. I think for me, because I naturally don't have a huge appetite, especially right now, and I still have a little bit of fat to lose, although not much because I lost a bunch of body fat already. I am thinking I'm going to have to add in a little bit of carbs. Still ketogenic levels, but very small amount of carbs. I don't think that pure carnivore is going to work for me in terms of being able to gain muscle mass, gain size overall. I think I just need a little bit of carbs. But anyway, digestion-wise,
just to throw a suggestion out there, do you mind if I kind of give my thoughts on that one?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, more carbs, obviously, that can help, but also just more protein and fat, right? Like, you just give yourself more caloric energy from carnivorous foods. So rather than eating one meal, have 2 meals, right?
Yeah. I mean about 2 meals a day.
Okay, yeah.
Plus,
so you're just increasing the
coffee.
fats dramatically too, because when you start adding more carbs in, especially in the first few weeks, sometimes it can throw a little bit of a loop and a roller coaster ride in there as far as cravings and blood sugar stuff. But that's kind of my opinion there. I usually tell people increasing the protein and fat level significantly, you can gain weight. You can gain fat on keto carnivore approach too if you eat too many calories, right? Because obviously energy balance matters. But that's kind of my spiel there. If you want to add muscle, more calories. Doesn't need to be carbs. Carbs are easy though. Carbs make it really easy. Honey is a good, very easily digestible carb that can be added to help increase muscle mass and weight.
Yeah, good tips, and I agree because a lot of people have asked me like, well, what's the difference between carnivore and keto? And I'll say, well, they're kind of the same thing, but when you do carnivore, it makes your carb control way easier because you're not eating those carbs. And a lot of people struggle, and I can see how they can struggle because the foods that I was sick of eating as a vegan, like potatoes and stuff like that, I can tell that they are way more appealing to me now because they do have that little sugar element to them. Like my buddy, I had some cashews that were seasoned with a little bit of sugar last
He's
night.
not carnivore. He's a faker. He had cashews.
Yeah, they were so good.
There's zealots
But
everywhere, dude. It's so funny. It's like you're gonna find even like keto people, carnivore. It's like
they
people
want to
making
fight.
big deals out of freaking everything, man. It's like
I
eat
know.
what you feel good with. But yeah, cashews taste
Yeah.
amazing. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't.
But it's not
digest
something
them
you should
so
be eating
well.
all the time. Yeah, I don't digest nuts very well. I don't digest nuts very well. I know that. So I stay away from them, And so from going from vegan to carnivore, basically, I'd say it's 90% carnivore. Like I have greens or something that's non-carnivore like once a week. So it's been very minimal.
You feel any difference when you
Um,
throw greens in there?
Not in terms of a bonus. If anything, it's a there's I can tell there's a limit. Like you're gonna have some gas if you go too heavy on it. But I think that you could still tolerate quite a bit. Like I'm not scared of greens. Like I was just vegan for 4.5 years, so I know that they're not gonna kill me. But at the same time, I'm feeling like if I add in a few handfuls of spinach, steamed spinach with my steak, it does make it more palatable to me, and I can eat more calories that way. Because when I'm just eating steak and eggs, sometimes I hit, I'm full before I really want to be full. You know what I mean?
Butter, my friend. You can
Yeah,
eat
butter.
Butter is so easy to get in those calories because it almost
Yeah.
tastes sweet when your palate starts to change. I mean, if
It
you can
definitely
handle butter,
does.
some people don't do that well with it, but yeah, butter's a great one too for adding calories in.
I'm doing okay with it. But I do notice like I had a little bit of potatoes last night with my steak, and I made sure it was all under the ketogenic amounts for dinner, and I still had like a little bit of gas from it. So
Well, yeah, and it's like the starch can, the way that it digests and the way it affects blood glucose too, is it's like, yeah, you could stay under 30 grams of carbs, but then still kind of give yourself that limbo effect, even if, you say you have 30, what if you had 30 grams of white sugar? You know what I'm saying? Or
Bro.
like, right, like dude, if you look at like the macros of like a Krispy Kreme, I think they're less than 30 grams of net carbs. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, oh, I'll eat one Krispy Kreme to stay under my keto
Wow.
carbs. And it's like, well, most people are not going to get away with that unless it's like they just trained really hard for an hour and then they take up that glucose and soak it up real quick. So sometimes that can. But yeah, no, just a warning. I mean, you'll figure it out, man. You're gonna go through all kinds of different experiment. You're gonna experiment with all kinds of different protocols. But I find that with people adding in carbs in the beginning of a keto diet, usually they don't end up getting the best of both worlds. They end up kind of getting the worst of both worlds, or it's like they're deprived of glucose as a fuel and they're deprived of ketones as a fuel, and they're just kind of in the limbo zone. But some people could pull it off well. Some people can do it really well too. So, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot where we were at. That's the carnivore brain for me.
Uh-oh. You need carbs, dude.
I need carbs. I started to think about potatoes.
Yeah, dreaming about that potatoes. The Dr. McDougall diet. Cool, man. So yeah, I mean, we've touched on a lot of things. I mean, we went through your whole history, from vegan to heretic carnivore, and now you're loving it. 30 days into a carnivore diet, you're experimenting with it. You're having fun. You went back to California, right? You left the vegan community that you were living in, and what led you to that? Was that before the diet change or after?
I had already made the decision before I even thought about carnivore. I had already made the decision that I was coming back October 1st to come here, so that had nothing to do with it. But I mean, cooking meat. I could talk about cooking meat in a vegan household. That was something for people to get used to. They didn't like it. I actually had a roommate and his girlfriend that was living there at the time, and they moved out because I started doing that. They wouldn't talk to me for like 5 days. It was a really interesting situation. I get it, but the thing was, I was a leaseholder of that house. They were a temporary guest, paying to live there. And what happened was, I had been experimenting with my diet for a week while they were away on another island in Hawaii. And when they got home, they saw my plethora of meat products in the fridge, And the first time I saw them, I said, "Hey, I'm on the meat, by the way." Like I tried to make it kind of lighthearted and be upfront about it. And the first thing I got was a some sort of offensive comment like, "Oh, is everybody in the house okay with it?" Like, I don't recall being asked about this experiment. And to me, I'm thinking like, I'm not asking you what I can eat in my house, you know? And so he actually threw a temper tantrum, took all of his, because I was gonna start cooking up some steak, and he took all his belongings and put them in his room because he didn't want the smell to like be on the food, which makes absolutely no sense because the entire time he'd been living there, our landlord's cooking meat and it's wafting into our house. It's like the little mental games that vegans play with themselves. You know what I mean?
can't even smell it. It's just I feel the suffering when I smell it. No, you feel your own suffering because you want the freaking bacon. You know, it's like
I know.
you're
I
crazy.
challenge any vegan to stand in front of a charcoal grill that's got a steak on it and not salivate, because you will be salivating. There's no question about that.
I love when vegans say, "Oh, you know, you're not natural carnivores. You're not a natural carnivore because you can't go out. You're not going to go kill a tiger with your hands and eat its flesh raw." It's like the dumbest arguments come out. It's like, dude,
Dumbest
I can
argument.
eat raw meat so easily. I can just grab a piece, eat it, and it
Yeah.
melts in your mouth. It just falls apart. Raw liver just falls apart.
Isn't it funny that they completely ignore that sushi is probably the most well-loved like food in all the world? Like everybody loves sushi, raw fish, and they're saying you can't even eat raw meat without preparing. It's like people love raw sushi. Hello, everybody.
They're like,
eats
you
that.
have to have herbs and vegetables to make it taste good.
I
No,
used to
that's
say
not
that.
true. You don't like. Some people don't even put salt on it. I love salt, but it's like, I mean,
Same.
it's just absurd how the poor argumentation that comes out of it. Because I mean, you can grab a slab of meat, you can grab a steak, and you can eat it raw, and it will digest easier than any plant food in the world. If you don't
100%.
believe me, future ex-vegans out there, go try it. Go try it. It's
100%.
not hard.
I agree with
Grab
that.
a piece of meat. You can eat it raw. It's not dangerous. Not going to kill you. So, I mean, what else, man? I mean, where do you think you're going? Where do you think all this is heading? I mean, 30 days in. What are your kind of closing thoughts on the situation? 30 days in, former vegan, 5 years. You got banned from my channel back in the day for making fun of Luis, allegedly on steroids, and now eating meat.
Yeah.
What
Where I think it's going to take me is Supreme. I have more confidence now in my entire body and being and what I'm doing than I did as a vegan, because that to me felt so experimental, and it always felt experimental, and I was always playing catch up. And now I just feel like I am, you know, like I'm not searching for anything else. I'm just going to eat this and then move on with my life and actually produce things and make the gains that I always wanted. Like what I kind of tell vegans is everything I was promised as a vegan, everything I was promised that I would get as a vegan on the vegan diet, I'm actually getting now that I'm on the meat again. So sustained energy, better mood, better energy levels, better sex drive, like every little thing is now coming to fruition on this way of eating versus on the vegan way of eating. All those things were going downhill. So I guess what I would say is I'm going to continue on eating this way. I will obviously still be making small tweaks along the way and paying attention to my health and making sure that I don't have any long-term issues. But like I see this as a stepping stone to actually moving on and doing other things with life, rather than like sitting there and talking about diet and digesting my food all day long and literally shopping for my food all day long and eating it all day long. Like I'm over that lifestyle.
Right. Yeah, the hunter-gatherers have kind of been depopulated, but now you have the vegan gatherers, the vegan gathering, the vegan gatherer tribes. Awesome, man. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for coming on the Eat Me Make Family stream. I want to thank you for throwing out that comment, which led me to inviting you on. And you guys make sure to subscribe to his channel, DrewMorg. Let me throw up that's his channel right there, DrewMorg, DrewMorg. You got a Instagram, Twitter, stuff like that as well?
My Instagram is DrewMorg as well.
Right.
So YouTube, you can find me /DrewMorg after the YouTube, and then Instagram also /DrewMorg.
Beautiful, Drew. Well, I wish you all the best, man, and I really, really appreciate you coming on. I'm sorry to hear that you kind of had a falling out as far as the social situation with your former friends went, but hopefully you guys can heal that and connect on like a real level, not just a I eat this and you eat that bullshit level. And yeah, dude, where are you at in California, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm in Southern California, Orange County, where I was born and raised.
I was born in Dana Point.
Oh, nice, man. Yeah, I know where that is, of course.
They put a
Dana Point's
statue
great.
up for me, I think, or at least
Yeah, nice.
They said the place went to shit when I left when I was 3. But no,
I don't know about that. That's a nice area.
No, I'm kidding. I was born there, but I didn't live there for very long. I moved to Riverside, the lovely Riverside.
I know where Riverside is too.
Yeah, and then I lived down in Carlsbad for a little while in North County, San Diego, which I preferred North County, San Diego. As far as Southern California goes, I love North County, San Diego. It's awesome. Orange County, I got some love for you guys too, but North County, San Diego is a good place. So,
oh yeah, there's a lot of fit people there. People doing all the triathlon stuff there. It's a really cool community of people. True.
All right, well, Drew, my friend, thanks a lot for coming on, bud. You guys got to subscribe to his channel. Thanks for sharing your story, man. And I wish you the best. I'm gonna let you go, and I'm gonna wrap up the stream here. And but yeah, stay in touch, man. Would love to hear more from you about your journey. Maybe we follow up in a few months and see how everything's going. If you went back to vegan, or if you stuck with the meat, we'll see how things go for you. So yeah, man, good luck chasing them gains. Maybe you and Vegetable Police can make some content together one day. See you guys together making those gains, jealously envious of each other's gains.
That would be great. Yeah. Well, hey man, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I had a lot of fun, and thanks to your audience. See you guys. Oh, peace, man.
That's it with Drew. From vegan to carnivore. Oh, what a wild ride. Yeah, but we're gonna wrap it up, guys. I mean, I've got some funny videos that we could watch, but we've talked about a lot. We had a good time. We talked to Crystal, KasumiKriss. We talked to DrewMorg. We talked a little bit about the Ketogenic Edge Cookbook. It's not just carnivorous foods, although there is a whole section that actually teaches you how to make the most nutrient-dense parts of the animal. We've got the odd bits section, which Jessica thinks I didn't take this picture now. It's the next picture. This is a cool picture. I didn't take that one. But the odd bits section, we show you how to make the organs, the most nutrient-dense parts of the animal. Things like liver and heart are highly affordable, really easy to make, and there's a lot of variety that you can get in the diet. As far as nutrition goes, fat-soluble vitamins through eating the organs. So hit up primaledgehealth.com. This is the only place where you're going to find it. And we finally got it available in print, which is really nice. The print copy is beautiful. Nice thick paper. So if you if you actually get some tallow on your stuff, we teach you how to make bone broth. We teach you how to render tallow. Actually, we got the nice thick paper, so if you get tallow on the book, it doesn't mess it up too much. We got it in print. It's available cheaper as an ebook as well. So make sure to check out primaledgehealth.com. We talked about the Keto and Carnivore Collective. Oh, that's the wrong one. Where'd it go? We got the next Keto and Carnivore Collective session starting this Sunday. So this is the last week to sign up. We're thinking about doing a little contest maybe to give away a one free enrollment in the Keto and Carnivore Collective, but I'm not so sure how to do this through YouTube. But we are doing one through Instagram, so you can go to our Instagram, look at our most recent posts if you want to get a chance to win a spot in the Keto and Carnivore Collective starting this Sunday, the 7th of October. And what else, guys? I mean, just keep it simple, right? A lot of people out there making things super complicated. But we're all about simplicity. That's why we teach you how to make whole, nutrient-dense, unrefined foods. That's why we're putting out content all the time, showing you guys how to do this right. So remember, you're way more than what you eat. But, nonetheless, there are certain things that we must eat. And those are animal foods, the meats, the fats. That's what we require. Those are unavoidably required in the human diet. We've been living off of animal food since the dawn of time, and we're not giving it up anytime soon. So if you guys want to get down the Keto and Carnivore Collective this month, our live group coaching, it's going to be really fun. We start on Sunday, and Yeah, that's what we're all about, guys. Keeping it simple, keeping it real, and giving you guys the real information you need. A ketogenic diet's not incredibly difficult. A carnivorous keto diet is not so hard to achieve, but building the solid foundations that you require in order to lose the body fat that you want to lose, in order to have the body and the lifestyle that you want, we've got to create those habits. It's not just about food. So we get into circadian rhythm, into optimizing sleep cycle, and all that stuff in the Keto and Carnivore Collective. And again, that starts this Sunday, October 7th through November 4th. Space is limited. We got plenty of space left in this one because it was kind of a last-minute announcement. The smaller groups are fun because you get even more interaction. But we still do private coaching too. But we try to decrease the amount of private one-on-one coaching clients because we're able to handle so many more and give you so much more information, so much more time, and so much more stuff in the Keto and Carnivore Collective. All right, guys. Peace out. Eat meat. Make families.